We are ready. I would like to call to order the Keizer City Council to order in regular session. It is Monday, August 6th, 2018, and ask our city recorder to please call roll.
Councilor Ryan.
She is excused.
Councilor Reed. Here. Mayor Clark.
Here.
Council President Parsons.
She's also excused tonight.
Councilor Freeman.
Here.
Councilor Herrera.
Here.
And Councilor Anderson.
Here.
All right, thank you very much. Would you all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. We don't have anything under special orders of business tonight, so we will jump into committee reports. If anybody is here to report on, this is Iris, sign, and, okay, West Keizer. So I've got one, and that would be quasi-committee report, but I'm going to go ahead and move it up, and that would be Keizer United. So Meredith, why don't you come on down? And our liaison to Keizer United from the council is Councilor Herrera.
Hello.
So if you would just give your name and city of residence for the record, and the time is yours.
Alrighty, my name is Meredith Mooney, and I reside in Keizer.
All right.
And I'm just here to follow up on the request that we made back in, I don't even remember when that was, for funding for Keizer United of $2,000. And we were to follow up with providing some information, our bylaws, and our financial plan, and then I think a couple other things were just asked of, so we sent those out. Should all be in the agenda?
Okay. All right, so, no, I appreciate that. I did get an email. Did that go to all of us with the email with the bylaws and the budget outline?
It's in the packet.
It's in the packet, okay. My bad. Maybe I should pop over to that page. So that, the packet is in there, and that was what we asked from Keizer United. Now, last fall, Keizer United and what it is now barely resemble each other, except for some very dedicated people that have now been joined by a whole lot of more dedicated people. Can you talk a little bit about what Keizer United has evolved into?
All right, so it is more of a networking space, or actually really a collaborative space. So we gather for lunch the third Monday of every month, 12:15 to 1:30, and it is my goal to invite people that are doing good things in the community, whether they be nonprofit or from whatever sector, even just neighbors. And that they can come and share what's happening with them, and then maybe link arms and even do better together. And so that's grown. I was looking through the minutes last January. We had about 8 people, which was a huge turnout. And now we have almost 20. And so hopefully we'll have even more representation at the table.
Well, what's happening too, as I understand it, is that as people are getting together and networking, they're finding out how they can collaborate even more strongly across all these different organizations. And I think that's been one of the strengths of Keizer United, the united part's happening now.
Yeah, and I think that Keizer does that already on different levels, but this is a space where people who maybe aren't collaborating can come together and hear what's going on and collaborate. And so, so I know like Chamber does a great job at that, but this is like a different level of that with community getting together.
Councilor Herrera.
And I'm going to add my 2 cents because I really enjoy your meetings. I met in the last meeting that there were 2 young ladies from a leadership foundation, Salem Leadership Foundation, and I told them about my relationship with Sam. The next day I got an email. They're looking for contacts from McNary High School. That's kind of me, so
Awesome.
We're going to hook up, and the networking is fabulous, and it's been a good, I mean, just meeting people, and it was a situation where they needed some money for the garden. Other people spread the word, and now we have somebody to put I saw they had a fundraiser, GoFundMe, and things are happening like that. So Keizer United definitely has a role. So I really appreciate your work too.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's my 2 cents.
All right, any other questions for Meredith? And we'll be taking this up under item 8A, which is the disbursement request under administrative action. All right, thank you so much for coming tonight, and thank you for the work that you and all of the members are doing.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Next up, we have I'm going to go on to public testimony. This time is provided for citizens to address the council on any matters other than those on the agenda scheduled for public hearing. We have one public hearing tonight, and that is the Keizer Development Code text amendment for the Keizer Station Master Plan Review. So I have several people signed up tonight, and I'm going to go ahead and start off with a group called the Willamette Valley Victory Riders and our former city councilor, Brandon Smith. Good to see you.
Pardon?
Swag.
Good evening. It's been a long time. I'm Brandon Smith. I am a resident of Salem, Oregon.
Brian Gardner, resident of Keizer.
I'm going to read. I apologize. I didn't want to forget anything, so I wrote everything down. Madam Mayor, City Council, thank you very much for your time tonight and your service to the community. My name is Brandon Smith, and I'm here tonight with members of the Willamette Valley Victory Riders, which is a local chapter of the Worldwide Victory Motorcycle Club. And so these are my people over here.
Welcome.
Our club first hosted the 2017 Keizer Irish Festival Poker Run, with proceeds going to benefit a veterans suicide prevention organization. In 2018, we focused on helping children in the community, specifically those that are pulled out of bad situations by the police department. I reached out to Lieutenant Copeland, I think right, yeah, last year, and he was very excited about working with us on this project. This year, 100% of the proceeds of the 2018 run will go to help children in the Willamette Valley via the 4 Kids Project, and 4 Kids stands for 4 Kids in Difficult Situations. The project, the 4 Kids Charity Foundation, collects donations and assists and support the mental well-being and comfort of children during stressful situations at police stations, shelters, children's services offices, and foster care agencies. These go bags are filled with things they need, things to cuddle, things to hold on to, and know that someone cares. Items include coloring books, crayons, small toys. This is the part where you're supposed to, demonstrate.
Vanna.
It's a little show and tell,
Oh.
Right. And having help, too, Toys for all ages, school supplies, stationery, toiletries, books, journals, diaries, handheld games, flashlights, etc. Poker Run proceeds were used to purchase these go bags and distribute to agencies around the valley. They can be kept in patrol vehicles and provided to children in their moment of need. This year we had 80 participants in the Poker Run who paid registration fees, bought 50/50 in raffle drawing tickets, and made cash donations. And I wanted to say this was an interesting year because for some reason this struck a chord with people, I think helping kids. So during the actual Irish Festival event, when we were at the tent and everybody was coming in, people were just walking up and handing me cash. It was mind-blowing. There was a club from Vancouver that came down to do the event, and so they were sitting outside having a beer, and they passed a hat in their club group and handed us $137, which was just, if I was the kind of guy that did that, it could have made me cry, but after paying out prize money for best and worst hands and very minimal expenses, our net proceeds totaled just under $2,000 for the event. We want to thank the Chamber for inviting us back again this year. I guess Danielle maybe had something to do with that. We wanted to thank Cycle Country for allowing us to use their facility to host the event and also be a donor for the raffle drawing. Other sponsors include some guy named Dave Wallery,
Christmas.
Hoghaven Leathers, Arcane Cellars, and Immortal Ink all donated to our raffle drawing. That is about it. I want to thank you for your time this evening, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Wow, thank you so much, and thank you for just loving on the kids of our community. This is absolutely beautiful. Why don't you get all of the bags up here? Looks like you brought several of them tonight.
We brought 10 to
Brought
donate.
10?
Yeah, we in talking to the police department, it's one of those things where you hope you don't need a lot of them, but we were hoping to have about 100 total, and they thought, well, we don't really probably need 100, so we're trying to give about 10 to each city and see how that works out.
Well, I see some of our officers are here to receive them, or they're for something else, but I would love for you to be able to present them to one of our officers. Lieutenant Copeland, why don't you come on up? And it looks like a great photo op with the Keizer Times. Eric is working his way up here.
Thank you.
Dave, you were a sponsor, why don't you come up here for a picture? I'm good at putting people on the spot. Yep, Eric will arrange you all. You will arrange them all. Arrange, not arraign, arrange them all. They have to tuck you in.
Nice job.
And if people want to donate for the next group of bags, you have a website, and that is?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This was actually a one-time shot. This was just,
Time?
we're doing a different fundraiser or donation each year.
Different
So
projects?
we're looking at a different project next year, so this is kind of a one-time shot.
So stay tuned because more exciting stuff
But
for
we
the
will do
community.
something next year, and people would certainly be able to contribute then, and we'll provide more information when we're getting closer there.
Awesome.
Thank
Thank you. It's good to see you. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right. From what good news to good news, let's talk about National Night Out. Shirley, come on up.
Hi. Thank you, Madam Mayor, council members, staff, Chief T. My name is Shirley DeShawn. I live at 3985 Rivercrest Drive in Keizer and have been there for about 30 years or so. Anyway, I would like to invite, I'm not going to complain or cause, I'll be 5 minutes, set my time, I'll be out in 5 minutes. I just would like to invite each of you to come down to our Sunset and Rivercrest National Night Out. It's pretty grand. Last year we had 50 people there.
Nice.
And it's wonderful. I mean, people are really excited about it. There's kids. We've had lawnmower races and all kinds of things. But please, if you get a chance, come by and join us. If you're busy with your own night out, that's great. But come by ours. It's awesome.
It absolutely is. And also, during the year, though, the National Night Out is just one part of all this, isn't it?
Yes,
So you do some other things during the year to help neighbors be able to watch out for neighbors.
we do. We do. It's kind of been that way for a long time, and it's nice because everybody cares about their neighbor, and they want to make that connection, and it's really good. It's a great neighborhood, and we're blessed to have it. So, and we're going to keep it that way. Right.
Thank you, Shirley, and thank you, Daryl, also. We really appreciate your volunteerism in the community and what you do. National Night Out is huge, and if you didn't get your neighborhood registered, it's probably too late. I mean, if people are really desperate to get it to the police, but I think most of the schedules are done.
You're stealing all my thunder for the roundtable part.
Okay.
Yeah, it's too late to get registered. We have 46 groups. We cops are visiting 4 neighborhoods apiece. That's up from a low of 2 some years. So we're growing like crazy. But let me tell you, even if it is too late, if someone calls tomorrow, I'll tell you what, if you call tomorrow and want again, ask for Andrew Copeland, because Dorothy... Well, Dorothy, the coordinator's not here tomorrow morning. She's here tomorrow afternoon, but we can probably squeeze you in. So come one, come all.
All right, thank you so much. Be there, be chair. All right, speaking of be chair, Iris Festival donation to Keizer Police Department Blast, Dave Wallery and Bob Shackelford. Come on down. Oh, and with Danielle Bethel.
I didn't put my name on it.
Bringing our speaker with us.
All right.
So my name is Danielle Bethel, and I'm a resident of Keizer, and I'm also the director of the Keizer Chamber. And with me is Bob Shackelford, our current board president, and Mr. Dave Wallery, the chair of the Keizer Iris Festival. And over the years, I think the Iris Festival has grown in different ways. And one of the things that we saw as a need at one point was we really wanted the community to understand that the money doesn't just stay at the chamber, it goes back into the community in lots of ways. So last year, we made a point of taking that money and putting it into a particular group. This year, Councilor Parsons called me on the phone and said, do you know about Blast Camp? And admittedly, I only knew little about it because my kids are busy and they've never been. And she shared information with me, and she just basically said, they need money like any other program, and would you name them as a beneficiary of the Iris Festival this year? And so I said to Dave and Scott, and they said, of course. So we had a new sponsor for our tent this year who stepped up and helped us create a couple of fun initiatives to bring some money in. And because of that, we're able to give $1,000 tonight to Keizer Blast Camp. And so that's what Dave and Bob are going to do.
Wow.
To Andrew. It does say Chief Teague, so there you go. That's probably not a true story.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Just stay up there. Andrew, just stay there.
Yeah. Oh, well, just before he says something, I just wanted to say that the Chamber and the Iris Fest are going to continue to do this year to year. Similar to what we do with the Turkey Dash, we have a committee that's going to sit down and look at requests from the community to be recognized and hopefully funded. We haven't chosen Turkey Dash this year, so if anybody's looking, we're still looking for requests to where that $2,500 would go. And then in January is when we'll look at the 2019 Iris Festival funds.
I just want to make sure that everybody knew what Blast Camp was. Does everybody know? Okay.
Go ahead and
It was a
promote it,
blast,
though.
but
For those watching,
For those watching, Blast Camp stands for Bringing Law Enforcement and Students Together. And this year was an unprecedented year. We opened it up for 250 kids, 3rd grade through 6th grade, and our registrations filled in 8 hours. So we did an online registration the day that it opened. I think it was June 4th, it filled. And we had a great time. These kids, we try to reach out. We make the camp free, and we hosted it at Claggett Creek Middle School this year. And we make it free so that we can have good, positive interactions with kids that may not otherwise have positive interactions with law enforcement. So we had a great demographic show up this year. I think we had more kids attend. We did more things this year, and we look to do bigger and bigger things as the years come on. So it was a lot of fun. So donations like this from the chamber and everybody involved is just, it's very welcome. And we'll put the money to good work. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's the Keizer way. Get stuff done. All right. So let's take on another issue tonight, and we've got 2 people signed up to talk about the sign code. So I've got Jonathan signed up twice, and Danielle, don't go too far. So, okay, so you can flip for it, or you can come together, however you like.
Okay. I'm happy to let him do the talking.
All right, let's talk sign code, which for those who are watching, that is on the agenda tonight. Which one is it? As conditional. AE, there it is. 8E. Oh, there it is, the word signs. All right, it was kind of buried under development code and so forth and so on. So for those who have the packets open online, item 8E will be dealing with the development code.
Madam Mayor.
Thank you for joining us tonight. Yes, sir.
So I was not aware the chamber was going to come testify on signs tonight. Now, that
Okay.
is a land use matter, and the hearing is closed.
Okay.
But it's a little more complicated than, or complicated in a good way, I guess. Since it's a legislative and not quasi-judicial There is no strict rule about it. If it was quasi-judicial, we'd have to decline to take any testimony at all. Because it's legislative, it's a little more difficult. The only flip side is, of course, is that someone who had come to a hearing and thought the hearing was over wouldn't have come here tonight and wouldn't hear this testimony. So that's the awkward part. So I just want you to keep that in mind in case there's any testimony here that you feel that would be appropriate to have other people here, then you'd have to be required to reopen the hearing.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Thompson?
As the new guy, I don't get to deliver the good news like the folks before me, so. Madam Mayor, members of the council, good evening. My name is Jonathan Thompson, and I live in Keizer, and I serve as chair of the Chamber's Government Affairs Committee. Both the Chamber and the city have prioritized rebuilding a working relationship, and I think we've made good progress. I was at your last meeting on behalf of the Keizer Chamber to give full support to the work done by the Planning Commission on the revisions to the sign code. Tonight, I'm here incredibly disappointed in the actions of some city staff after that meeting. The actions have jeopardized the relationship that we have been building and changed our thoughts on the sign code work to date. To step back, we have been working with city staff for over a year to bring the sign code into compliance with a recent U.S. Supreme Court decision, as well as an update on other sections of the code. Early in the process, we met and received the initial proposal. Over the next several months, we worked with our members to get their thoughts. Many of the written responses were included in your last council packet. In short, we received most of the feedback on the length of time between changes on electronic message centers and to protect window signs, which in some cases safeguard offices with safes. Working with the Planning Commission for over a year, we were able to come to an agreement we were happy to support. Was it perfect? No. But we respected the work of the Planning Commission and were prepared to live with their decision. At your last meeting, we were happy to testify in support of the changes as passed by the Planning Commission. Could we have pushed to change it? Probably, but I wanted to respect the work of those dedicated volunteers. When the City Council voted to prepare an ordinance based on the recommendation, we thought the issue was done. After the vote, it was reported to me that city staff reached out to a commercial real estate agent to update them about the code. As you know, the changes to the sign code would require a permit for portable signs larger than 6 square feet. This would include most, if not all, commercial real estate signs. To be clear, we had also reached out to these members on more than one occasion. We did not hear anything back, so we thought they were okay with the changes. I have been told that 2 things were communicated. First, that the chamber approved these changes, quote, without hesitation. And second, that staff did not agree with the wording in the changes, specific to the commercial real estate signs section. The first claim is flat not true, and the second is mind-boggling. When these changes were first proposed to us, we questioned the permit. We were told it would likely be, quote, a simple web form, but that staff had not researched this far enough into the process to provide concrete examples. We then reached out to our members, and when we didn't hear anything back, and with the assurance of a simple web form, we moved forward. We did question the permit and were assured it would be no big deal. For staff to tell the agent they don't agree with the changes is just mind-boggling. Staff wrote this section in question, and to my knowledge, it never changed. Why didn't they originally propose something they could agree with? I have no issue with staff reaching out to affected parties. My problem here is with the timing and the statements made. Why did folks wait for more than a year and then reach out only after council action? This does not seem right to me. It also seems exceptionally odd that anyone would suggest any language to the council they would not support themselves, especially when no other entity engaged in the process to begin with, creating the need for new language. However, now that it's been done, we are here to request a change to the ordinance that you ordered drafted. In order to accommodate the now stirred up commercial real estate agents, we are requesting the current proposal be updated and that the allowance for portable signs be changed from 6 square feet to 16 square feet. We believe this would make the allowance for these signs the same as the allowance for feather flags in the new proposal. It would also negate the need for these to have a permit. While I feel exceptionally bad that I need to update our prior testimony, it is now necessary. I also hope this is an isolated incident and does not foreshadow how the city and the chamber will work together moving forward. While it is fine and expected for us to disagree, if we are not open with each other, how can we continue to work together to support Keizer? Thank you for your time, and I welcome any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for Mr. Thompson? And I have one.
I have one question.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Do you have the location in the ordinance the section that you're referring to? I mean, I'm scrolling through, but I'm trying to
In
get to that.
portable, I don't have the
language.
ordinance in front of me. It's in portable signs, and it talks about it in that section.
Okay. I can scroll to that, and then that will come under discussion then during the administrative action, which is that 8E. So if you could have that section ready for us. And then regarding, okay, real estate signs, there it is. So it's redlined. General signs permitted, 2.308.05, Section C, has been redlined. It was the commercial properties may display a real estate sign not to exceed 16 square feet, and so that's been taken out, and it's been substituted with another section, more general. Is that correct?
It's been substituted with a special event sign, and so that would give the real estate the opportunity to actually have to obtain a permit, which we anticipate to be very simple. It's all very consistent with everything that was presented early on, and it would be up to 16 square feet. So I'm not sure where the confusion is. It would have been nice if we had a conversation about this
It would
before
have
the
been very
meeting.
nice if we had a conversation before the phone call, too.
Well, the phone call was based on an inquiry that I got from AJ, who wanted to know what was going on. So I explained to him the process and exactly how that happened. So it would have been nice, again, if we would have had a conversation about those kinds of concerns. I have received no conversation. I'm not even sure what you're referring to on the six square feet.
Well, right now, a portable sign can be up to 6 square feet. If a commercial real estate sign that is 16 square feet is not allowed without a permit. And after your conversation, the commercial real estate agents are very stirred up about it. So,
Well, we'll be happy to discuss it.
Yeah, I would prefer not to argue this issue
Yeah, okay.
just openly in a public forum, just because it's poor form. So.
So
we
what
can-
we'll
we
do
can
is,
discuss this. We can discuss this together later if you so choose.
If I might add, I just think that there's some things that we definitely should discuss, and I'm happy to do that behind closed doors. But one of the things that I'd like to get out there is that I have sent emails myself from the chamber to city staff that have not been answered. And I understand that there is an issue with a new spam filter, and I don't know when that took place, so I'm going to hope that that's the case. But I also think that, and I'm happy to share the email that I received with AJ, but there's just kind of this ongoing conversation about this sign code that just seems to keep popping up. And we as the chamber want to make sure that we are having these transparent, open conversations, not just behind closed doors, because there's a lot of people in this community right now think that we didn't do right by them based on that conversation. And it's important to us as the Chamber of Commerce to make sure our members know that we are standing forward when they ask us to with City Council and create those partnerships.
So at this point, what I would like to do is thank you for bringing your concerns. The ongoing dialogue is important between the city and the Chamber of Commerce. If we have technical issues, we will look into them once again. But I think in regards to this particular section, it is my understanding that the adopted language out of the Planning Commission was the 16 square feet. It was not. It was 6. And real estate signs are generally what size?
16 square feet.
They're generally 16 square feet. So that was something that, and I'm sorry, I was not here last time. So the request of the chamber is that this language be modified to allow real estate signs,
Commercial real estate signs.
commercial real estate signs, but again, we have to watch out for content. And so we'll talk about this in that context, but that is the request that you are making, is that language be amended to allow for the real estate signs be 16 square feet, and very simple to do.
Correct.
However, whatever process we do. Okay,
Thank you.
did I get it right?
Yes.
Okay, so we will have that conversation under administrative action on how we want to address that as the language we have, and then go forward with that. Does that work for council? Okay, we will do that. All right. Rhonda and Carol. So you both have time So I'm not going to make you share time, but since you both signed up for the same issue, I thought if you want to tag team, you are welcome to do so.
Yes, we would like to, but if we need 5 minutes each, is that okay?
Yes, it is. You signed up separately.
Okay, thank you.
And the subject is about the gunshots in Keizer, and I think that's specifically to the ones that are coming from, used to come from the rock quarry. Okay. Who would like to go first?
I'm it.
All right.
Carol
Carol, pull the
Dorfler.
microphone just up a little bit for you. Thank you.
Yes, I'm going to turn it that way. I was trying to watch the last council meeting.
Can you turn it toward you, please, just so that everybody who's watching can hear you? Otherwise,
I they was trying
can't.
to watch the last council meeting, and I was having a very difficult time hearing, but I was watching on my laptop, and I'm not very technically, I don't know how to do those kind of things, and so I don't know whether it's because it's my laptop or whether because people don't speak into the microphone.
It's because some of us aren't close up to the microphones, and I think
Okay.
they're budgeted for.
It
new ones.
wasn't any of council, they were the people at the table.
Yeah.
Okay, so, Carol Dorfler, I live in Keizer, and I'd like to read my statement to you. As president of the West Keizer Neighborhood Association, I would like to thank Mayor Kathy Clark, City Attorney Shannon Johnson, and council members for their efforts in assisting us, the WKNA, in making our neighborhood safer. The creation and passing of the resolution and your visit to the Polk County Commissioners is greatly appreciated. However, we and you must not let up. We and you need to keep the pressure on Polk County and the owner of the property from where the gunfire most likely is coming. This is a very serious public safety issue. It is not a Second Amendment issue. It is not a land use issue. And until we can feel safe in our parks, our backyards, and our homes, this issue will be pursued. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your tenacity in this. When I went to Polk County, one of the comments I heard from everybody was the appreciation for all of you who came from West Keizer and from the city to speak to this issue. They really appreciated how you came and presented the issues and the facts. Thank you. Rhonda.
Thank you. Rhonda Rich, I live in Keizer on Raffel. I appreciate you going over and talking to Polk County. I don't know how, I know you sent us an email, quick email on your response that you had presented it. But I was wondering, is there any time frame that we can expect something from Polk County? Reason is we have kind of a steering committee with this issue. We have about 5 people on the steering committee. And we talked August 1st, we had a meeting, and we talked about Carol and me coming to this meeting. And we plan to go to the Polk County Board of Commissioners meeting on Wednesday also. So in going to them, we want to, again, keep this forefront because even though we have not heard gunshots, although I did talk to one of my neighbors yesterday, and he said he heard gunshots Saturday morning and Sunday morning. And he has not, he's not informed, he hasn't been in the loop of what to do. That we have been told to call the Keizer police if we hear any shooting over there. So I'm not quite comfortable, I guess, with you know, what may happen. So we're going to continue on with this, talking to Polk County, seeing if they have moved along. I assume you have not heard anything yet from them as to, you've asked them to possibly pass some ordinance or do something in their jurisdiction to stop the shooting, but there's nothing, no response yet. Okay. Okay, well, if we hear anything, and we feel kind of we're on the, you know, we're citizens, we're kind of on the affected ones, but we're kind of on the outskirts of what legally can be done. So on this map, this is some information we've been collecting over the last couple months. There's 13 vectors on this map. the center is where the shooting trench is across the river. And we have 11 witnesses so far of who have gotten police reports or have witnessed bullets flying through trees or alongside their house. So this is information that we're going to use in the future. I wanted to bring this visual to you because this shows, you know, how many people have been affected. And also you can see that these vectors travel across the Willamette River. And if you've been out there at all during the summer, and this summer especially, there's hundreds of people out there. My question is, does the city of Keizer limits go to the middle of the river, or does it just go to the bank? Somebody can answer that? Community development.
I'm thinking. I believe it goes to the center of the river.
Okay. So the city of Keizer does go to this, if the city of Keizer does go to the center of the river and somebody did get injured on the river, it would be the city of Keizer's responsibility.
Oh, no,
If
no.
somebody was out on the river and they were
That's
from the
recreation.
middle of the river to the bank,
Yeah, we have an agreement with Polk County that they'll handle the river calls for us, because they have a boat on the river. So the city of Salem and city of Keizer, let Polk County take care of all that. As far as injuries go, medical response, that's gonna probably be Salem Fire Department. I don't know if Keizer does water rescues or not.
okay. Well, see, we come into the problem with the jurisdiction. That's where we're trying to go. Is the jurisdiction of the city of Keizer to the middle of the river, or is it not? Because if there is, if something does happen on the river, I mean, we are looking out for ourselves, our homes and our lives on the bank and the houses on the bank, but also with the concern that there's people out on the river. And we've been told that we should go to the state representatives and also work with them on, since this is some confusing jurisdictional, whose responsibility is it? We feel that what's in place now is, with the Bowers, the agreement is that if Lance Davis decides to do some recreational shooting, he has to give 10-day notice to the Bowers, not to anybody else, just to the Bowers. So if he is over there, and we don't know what's happening over there, whether he is making a safer shooting range, that he needs to let them know within 10 days he's going to start shooting. So my question is too, that you should know this, because if he does do something that he thinks is going to be safe, and he says, well, I'm going to start with the recreational shooting in 10 days from say today, we have people go to your parks, sunset parks, go out on the river. Is there going to be some notification that they're beware of bullets in the, you're in a park, that there may be, I would think there'd be some liability there to know that, especially since Sunset Park has been already barraged with bullets. So I just thought I should bring that information to you, because it's, we hope that the civil suit does take care of this. This may take months though, but there's also needs to be kind of a backup plan, and working with you. Like I said, we have a steering committee. We'd be glad to meet with in a work session, or with the council, or we're going to talk to the state reps too and see, which I think that's probably, I feel the burden's kind of been put on us to talk to the state reps. Maybe that's something that the city council wants to be involved with too. So.
Well, and just for the record, State Representative Bill Post is here tonight, and we have been in conversation. Thank you for being with us tonight, Representative. We have been in conversation. I know that the representative and Senator Thatcher are very concerned about this. Again, this is a public safety issue, and there's no question about that. Jurisdictional issues just frustrate the cookies out of me, just like it does you. I want this done yesterday, like you do. This is our neighborhood, this is our community, and it's clearly a safety issue. I want to thank our city manager and our city attorney for making sure that we are investing as many hours as necessary to do as much as we can, and the research that Shannon has done to see what we can do and to be very persistent in this matter. I don't see us relenting anytime soon as well, because this is clearly a safety issue. And whatever needs to be done to make sure that the people in our community are kept safe from the irresponsible activities of another, I think needs to be paramount. So whether it's bullets or anything else that could cause harm to another person, we need to stay on it. City Manager, do you have anything else on? So, Mr. Johnson, but he will, as we know things that we can share, as Mr. Johnson does, I know he's working very closely with staff. You know, we don't have, we're going to push as hard as we can. But at the end of the day, this is something we're not going to give up either. Because keeping all of us safe is job one.
Could I just ask a question?
Sure.
How do you feel about putting up signage in the parks? I mean, people need to be aware that there's possibility. I mean, it seems like a horrible thing to have to do in a city park, but I will say that the first time I went down to Sunset Park after that incident last September, I was just a little uneasy because they were still over there shooting. They hadn't received that cease and desist order. And it's just kind of unnerving. I would really, really hate for some of our citizens to be in these parks and they get shot. I mean, we've got at least 3 people who said they have heard bullets whizzing through trees. Now, that's just kind of absurd. But how do you feel about posting signs?
At this point, and I would leave this to our Public Works Director, since we don't have a notification that they're going to start permitting shooting over there at this point, I would rather hold off on that if they decide to go ahead with, and Polk County cannot stop them from re-engaging in that activity, then we'll have to have a conversation about that. But I think at this point, it might be a little premature, but not to discount in any way, shape, or form the necessity for people to make informed decisions. But this is one that I think we'd have to make if and when they decide to resume that activity, which they have been told will have consequences. Okay. Is that fair? Fair enough, Mr. Lawyer? Okay.
So you did not get any response from them as to when they may respond on that resolution?
I did not get a time frame. No.
Okay.
We did get feedback, though, from, let's see, who was there? The district attorney was there, the code enforcement,
The Community Development Director who's in charge of code enforcement.
right? So they were there, and on the technical end, they are doing their part. Okay. So please keep up and keep informed, and if there's anything that you can do to get the word out to people, if they do hear something, say something.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Shirley. Neighbor of Sunset Park.
Hi, I know this is irregular and I apologize, but something came across my mind, and that's that Keizer's property values are going to be hit with this, with the publicity that we've gotten. And if Tom Bauer decides to move, I mean, where's it going to spread? And that's another concern. We've got property value issues too. And, come to Keizer and get shot. No, that's not, we don't want that. We want, a welcoming, volunteerism and friendship and all that. And so that's why we really, really need your support in helping us go to the state. And if there's anything, if maybe you know something that we don't, that we can do, if you have any ideas, we would be more than happy to accept them. Anybody, anything. But again, property values and City of Keizer should be known for what it truly is in its heart, not for being shot at. Sorry, thank you.
All right, thank you. Any questions or comments at this point? Councilor Herrera.
This is going to sound a little weird, but I'm not aware. I mean, I see Representative Bill Post. I was wondering if there's any legislation or can be drawn up about shooting from, I mean, when you talk about using all options, I'm not aware, is there any kind of, can somebody draw some legislation about shooting from one county to another, or shooting, or is there something already in place? I don't know.
That's what we want to try to get, something statewide.
Was that something you know about, Mr. Post?
Please.
Come on up.
Yeah, yeah.
I was just going to be an
Any
observer
options in
tonight.
that direction?
Good evening, Bill Post from Keizer. At this point, I don't know of any legislation that's been talked about, but of course, the deadline for legislation is still a ways off for 2019, and of course, I would have to be reelected, and of course, other people would have to be reelected, and so at this point, no legislation that I know of. What I am a little disappointed about, and I was actually frankly just talking to the chief about this, I'm a little disappointed, if this were the other way around, and the bullets were flying from Keizer over to Polk County, I guarantee you, this state representative would be sitting on their front porch demanding they stop. The state representative from over there has done zip. That bothers me greatly. I've communicated to him 4 times through our state email accounts, and he has not responded. So I would advise you to reach out to your state representative from over there. That is House District 20. Okay, so.
Well, I appreciate you coming. Also, the senator has been attentive to this as well. I've been in communication with the Polk County Commissioners and will continue to do so. This needs to be resolved.
Yeah.
And there's only one solution, from my point of view.
And the Polk County Commissioners have been really good about working and communicating with me and keeping me in the loop. But again, as you said, the jurisdictional thing is just such a pain. Where does this line and that line and and I would love to jump up and down and do something about it, but there literally is nothing I can do at this point.
I want to go to the Bob Newhart answer, which was just stop it.
Stop it, yeah.
But no, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Any other questions for the representative? Thank you very much for being here. All right. I've got one more pair of people signed up for testimony tonight, and that would be Matt Lawyer and Dan Kohler talking about safety in our schools.
That was loud, Ken. Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council, Matt Lawyer, Keizer resident. Madam Mayor, we'd like to request, if possible, a slight extension of the normal public comment period. We've got some materials we'd like to present to the council, and the 5 minutes may not be just enough.
So between the two of you, at least 10, and then if we have questions, we can take it from there. Is everybody okay with 10 minutes here?
Okay, I'm going to hand a couple things out real quick.
Madam Mayor, council members, city staff, chief. My name is Dan Kohler, Keizer resident. Would like to talk a little bit about school safety. A little bit of history. In May of 1998, Thurston High School, Kip Kinkle killed his parents, 2 students, and injured 25 other people before being arrested. April 11th, 2007, Multnomah County student fires a weapon into classrooms, shattering glass and injuring 10 people. June of 2014, Troutdale, Oregon, student kills a classmate and wounds a teacher before killing himself. October 2015, Roseburg, Oregon, college student kills professor and 8 students, 8 others injured, kills himself. I understand that's college. It doesn't necessarily go to the high schools or middle schools. Recently, there were 2 lockdowns at Whitaker Middle School for suspicious activity. So why does any of this matter? Well, Salem Keizer School District removed some of the school resource officer positions in 2008 due to some recession issues. Since 2008, the population of our schools have increased. With rising school populations, school resource officer positions have not been reestablished.
So, as a parent of 2 school-age children, one that's 12 and one that's 7, we're seeing this epidemic happening, and largely it's because I think the media is playing a major role in it, and in some cases creating more of a stir than is necessary, but it's brought it to the public's eye and therefore made it important. And so as a dad, I wanted to see what I could do to try to find an answer. So our objective was to see what our neighbors want and expect for security and work towards a real solution. We began to gather information on what kinds of security they expect and gather the information on what kinds of funding levels they may be interested in. So myself, Representative Bill Post, Dan Kohler, sat down, we talked about some of these issues and tried to keep it as simple as possible. The methodology we created was creating a 3-question survey that I paid for from my own pocket. The city did not engage in this, has not funded any portion of this. This has been entirely funded by me. The questions were, do you support the idea of having additional school resource officers and/or armed security, specially trained professionals in our schools? Knowing Keizer has already increased fees to support additional police, would you support adding additional funds to pay these resources in our schools? And do you live in Keizer? We began this survey in June, and when I completed this data compilation Sunday evening, I meant to do it Friday, but I forgot to push the stop button, so it kept going for a couple days. We ended up with 426 total replies from people in Keizer and Salem alike. Not many in Salem, very few. The question 1 response, the overwhelming response was that over 90% of the people are in favor of additional school resource officers and/or armed security. The second question was knowing about the fees and the increase that we've done recently to add additional police staff to the city of Keizer. Would they be interested in adding additional funds? The largest response was 29% of yes, regardless of the cost. And then the other percentages were 23 and 16 for a range of $3 to $5 or $2 to $3 per month.
The question 3 really was, do you live in Keizer or somewhere else? And over 91% of the respondents were Keizer residents. So 90% of the respondents were in favor of additional schools, security in our schools. 70% were in favor of paying something, even though Keizer just began the police fee. Some respondents outside Keizer, but in Salem, still want additional security. Requests for more mental health options were described. Some for and some against arming teachers were in the comments. Concern over inequity and wrongful targeting of minority children was there. And a couple things, Salem Keizer School District has not been consulted with the survey or on the survey, and the school district has discussed creating its own police force. So some suggested use of bond money. This can't be done because the bond money is for capital projects and repairs, not school safety. And others showed general concern over allocating money to security and not to teachers.
So the capital projects largely are the increase of capacity. There are in a few schools where they are taking security into taking security into consideration as they're looking at like the front doors and stuff in McNary. So I apologize, that statement is not 100% correct. That's my fault, not Dan's. So the recommendation, I think, is really very simple. This is an issue, I think, that hits home for many of us as parents and or grandparents, aunties and uncles, people that know children. And we need to find a path forward because this is an issue of security, not a request for policing actions. Students must feel safe and secure and not be worried about being sent through the punitive system for whatever reason, just showing up to school. If issues related to other forms of violence, drugs, or other behavioral issues are identified, there needs to be work on education and a knowledge path forward, which is not punitive. So we need to get to the root cause of the issue and not just throw cuffs on kids. Maybe this is done using only specially trained security and not a school resource officer. So in this case, what we're suggesting is instead of looking just at the school resource officers, we looked at just having security in the schools that are specifically there for the security of the children, the physical security of the building, and around for the teachers and students. What we do know is the data here supports the start of a new conversation related to how we ensure safety of our kids in our Keizer schools. We recommend the City Council or someone engage with Salem Keizer School District regarding these findings. Should the Salem Keizer School District fail to respond to the information presented, we should really take a look at this initiative and see if we can put it in front of the Keizer voters so that we can take care of the kids in Keizer and hope that Salem chooses to follow suit. The bottom line is here, the information being presented by 400 plus of our neighbors suggests that we need to take action. We need to listen to the data being presented, and we need to find a solution rather than continuing to talk about an issue. So that's it.
Or ignoring the issue.
Or ignoring the issue, exactly. You'll find towards the back of your packet and all of the individual responses. The other responses are included in there. I think that the responses on every level, I think folks were adamantly opposed to it. Some suggested, you know, a lot of things, and so I thought it was important that everybody had this opportunity to see those responses. We're not trying to hide anything. This is as transparent as it gets. But it's all there for you to do what you wish. Again, our hope is to begin a conversation, or if the school district fails to take action, then we pull ourselves up by our bootstraps as a city. Look, I don't want to be the fee guy, okay? I've sat here many times in front of this council and said, you know, we got these opportunities. This is not what I want. I understand that this is sensitive because less than a year, just over a year ago, we increased the fee for services in the city. But as a parent with 2 kids in school, I can't just sit there and know that I had any sort of chance whatsoever to do something, and I sat on my hands and chose not to ask the question. So that's my own personal take on it. Dan's a parent of kids that have been through Whitaker and McNary and has grandkids now at Whitaker and elementary school. So thank you for your time. We will entertain any questions if you have. And thank you for Representative Bill Post throwing it out on the Keizer page. Every time, I got to get him to help me out on other stuff. Every time he put it up, another 100 people went and did it. So thank you, Representative Post, for all your help on this.
All right. Thank you very much. This is very interesting, and thank you for starting the conversation. If we aren't willing to talk about difficult issues, we as a community won't be able to come to good collective conclusions. So thank you for starting the conversation about this. Councilor Herrera.
I got a question on your respondents. Do you have any kind of a breakdown of the respondents were? Like, obviously, if you put in Bill Post, that tells me something as far as you know, what kind of people would support this.
Did we ask
because
about
if I put it in my page, I bet you I'd get like 90% the other way, and I probably get 500, 400. You know, I'm just thinking in terms of who the respondents are, because if your audience is one, you know, specific group, then you're not going to get a real true feeling of what Keizer really feels. And I have kids and grandkids in school too, and I care.
Sure.
So we all care here, but we want to do the wisest thing. I want to think this out because, like I say, it's important to know who are the people that are responding to me. That's just to me.
So, Madam Mayor, Councilor Herrera, if you look on the second to last pages of the total packet, everybody that chose to put their information in there, their information is there. This was not, I didn't just email all my buddies and say, hey, what do you think? This went out to the 2 Keizer Facebook pages. I know that Mayor Clark submitted on her pages. I had it on my page for a long time. So this was not just, I'm going to get all my buddies together and see what we think. So anybody and everybody had an opportunity to reply on this. Like I said, it was up for over 2 months. I'm sorry?
Anybody with a computer, right?
That's correct, yes. So, and then and if you'll see in the comments, Councilor Herrera, there is a very diverse representation of people's thoughts and feelings on this. And so I think that, yes, everybody with a computer, but I feel like it was well represented.
Thank you.
Thank you. You good? I'm going to go Councilor Reed.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to bring up the point, as an employee of the Salem Keizer School District, we on August 1st got an email from the superintendent saying that they had decided to withdraw the recently proposed resolution to authorize Salem Keizer as a law enforcement agency. So she has withdrawn that resolution. based on a great deal of community input and so forth. So I would really encourage, again, this is a jurisdiction kind of question as far as this is, I see this as a school district issue, and yes, as people of Keizer, we need to be able to take control where we can take control. And already we have our school resource officers, and that's a community school district sort of partnership. So, you know, perhaps it's a matter of expanding those or whatever, but I think this conversation really needs to happen at the school board level, at the school district level, and that's not to say that we won't do anything at this level, but I think that we really need to engage them. And you had said that, you know, you hadn't engaged them in this conversation, and this is information gathering, but I think that that's an important consideration.
Yes.
So, Madam Mayor and Chief, if you can help me on this. Correct, that we do need to engage the school district, but I believe that the school resource officers, or in this particular demonstration, is that would be potentially additional staff from the police department, which Keizer would have to pay a percentage of, and the school district would pick up a percentage of it. I don't think it's the school district paying 100% for it. I think there's a shared thing. So realistically, this was, Keizer, what do you want? Are you in support of this? And now that we know the data, then it's, hey, Keizer has said this, Salem Keizer School District. Now we're ready to do this, so to speak, from a community standpoint. And then the funding piece, I think, would have to be discussed, and then whether or not they're actually going to fund those positions wholly, which I don't believe they do, or whatever. But regardless, the last time a fee was discussed, it was for 5 officers, and I don't believe that any of those were considered as additional school resource officers. So there may need to be some additional staffing discussion that's beyond my scope of expertise.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd kind of like to hear from Chief Teague about this as far as SROs. When they were first instituted in the district, was that initiated by the district, or was that initiated by the community police organizations, or what are we talking about in terms of jurisdiction here?
Well, to answer your question of when were they introduced, it was decades ago, and where the impetus for that came from, I don't know. I do respond to one thing, and I'll answer your question. Our interest in being in the schools is not to enforce the law. In fact, our interest in being in the schools is so that we can see the law enforced a whole lot less in the schools. I appreciate Councilor Herrera's comment that his constituents don't want to see any more cops in the schools. I understand that's a nationwide conversation as well, and that fails to understand the perspective, at least of Oregon SROs. Having more SROs in the schools, if we had one more in the middle school that doesn't have one, we have 2 middle schools that are shared by 1 SRO, and one more that hit all of the elementary schools, then we would be about tapped out as far as our capacity within Keizer PD to manage SROs. Because again, our job is not to enforce the law in the schools, it's to see that it's enforced less. If increased security is the goal, then, and I proposed this to Matt early on, then I suggest they should have armed security. You can get they already have security in the schools. You can get a whole lot more armed security for your dollar than you can cops. And having an extra cop in each school, which would be a whole lot of cops, first of all, doesn't fit our mission to provide security. And second of all, it's not going to be as effective as having civilian armed security in the schools. Now, whether that's palatable to people or not, I don't know. Matt and Dan's survey suggests that it is palatable. It may not be to others. But again, our interest as police officers in the school is to see the law enforced less by virtue of us being there, developing relationships, taking care of problems early, and diverting kids out of the justice system when we can.
Thank you very much. Councilor Freeman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Matt and Dan. As with all surveys, any response is welcomed, right? but we have almost 38,000 people in Keizer, and we have a response of 419. And again, the park survey, when we did that for the fee, there was like 1,000, 1,100 out of 38. So we're never going to get everyone to respond. It's just low for me. I know the chamber later is on our agenda to have more community conversations, and I think this would be a great topic to add to a community conversation. I am a grandma with someone who's not yet in school, but will be in probably 3 years, right? I'm not sure having more police officers in the school is the right answer either. I think it's a conversation we need to have. I appreciate the passion as a dad, and I think everyone in this room could agree with you. I'm just not sure what the right answer is, but I think it's a conversation we need to have, and I believe the school board, the school district needs to be at the table for every conversation because it is their role. It's their buildings. Yes, we are the city, but it's their buildings, and I think they need to be at the table, and they, I hope, would feel the same way to be part of this conversation. Thank you.
Councilor Anderson.
I saw the chief stick his hand up here. We'll defer to him.
I want to ask a question of Matt, just for some clarity. I think your answer to this question is yes. If it is armed security that we're looking for, then what you're proposing is that even if the school district won't move on this, within Keizer citizens, residents may be willing to pay the difference to arm the security they already have in place. Is that correct?
That is correct. Now, a couple of things. We're not proposing one thing or the other. We just know that something needs to be done because at this juncture, the Salem Keizer School District has chose to ignore it, and we can't just sit around and do nothing.
Madam Mayor, and Councilor Freeman, I absolutely appreciate your perspective 100% on the data, right? But we had 420-something responses, which is as much, if not more, than the police survey responses. So, I'm not. Every response, regardless of how small or how big, I think is very, very important, and that's why we're here, is because we heard very clearly from a lot of people. And I can tell you that there are people from every possible direction that commented on this. We're presenting the facts as we found them, and the opinions of those in our neighbors, and so I really appreciate, it is a much larger conversation, so I appreciate that very much. I mean, we need to hear from as many people as possible. If you guys want, I'll keep this open. I mean, it's only costing me about $37 a month. I don't care. You tell me how long you want it open, you tell me how many comments you want, we'll keep it going. But
thank you, Matt.
All right. So I'd like to, I'm sorry, you do have a question. All right.
I was just wanting to defer to the chief here.
All right.
Just a couple of comments here, and that's all. It's a complicated issue. As you probably have heard tonight and have dealt with as this conversation has moved forward. I don't know if your plans were to present this data to the school board or not at one of their future meetings, but I would recommend that you do that. I really, Councilor Reed said something I was thinking exactly along the lines of. This is, while those schools are in Keizer, and I've had 2 children go to all 4 of mine at Whitaker, now 2 at McNary, and all 4 of them at Forest Ridge, as well as Whitaker. I think I, like a lot of folks, are concerned about our kids' safety. So that's absolutely for sure. So I'd recommend you convey this information to the school board and kind of see where that goes from here. We do have a representative on the school board from Keizer. I believe Mr. Lee is our representative. So, I'd invite you to maybe wrangle your way onto the agenda if they don't have public testimony. Secondly, the thought, I think the chief was going down the same road that I was wondering, and that is, were you envisioning us hiring more police officers for the city of Keizer to staff this, hire additional security? And then also getting into this whole jurisdictional issue, I'm not sure how that really comports with the school property in terms of how they patrol and that sort of thing. And then finally, the other thought is our school buildings are and access points and that sort of thing. That's a huge issue that I'm not exactly sure what the timetable is on the school district addressing that. Schools that were built 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, there was a different mentality with respect to school security than we have now with these awful things that have been happening. So anyway, sorry, just a few thoughts. Thanks.
I'll go ahead and respond, and then I've got a question from Councilor Reed.
So, again, our intention is not to sway the information one way or another. You know, the information does suggest that I think we began this in June before the school district, I think, put forward their initiative to create the police force thing that has since been withdrawn. The response from that, I think, suggested that, and is consistent with many people's responses, that we don't want to create this policing action, this sort of negative vibe in the schools, right? So maybe the data then lends itself to this armed security piece where we're only focusing on security and we're not trying to create a path from school to jail. But again, our purpose here was really to get the data, bring the data, say this is what we found from our neighbors, and if the answer then is at the end of the day, the school district chooses to not do anything with us, with this particular bit of data, then we have the data to begin a conversation locally. I believe that if Keizer were to move forward and do this initiative entirely on our own, say we're going to go through the process of hiring either police or armed security, I think the folks in Salem would be very interested in responding in kind, which may then get Salem Keizer School District to take this more seriously. I don't know. Really, this is just, it's a fact-finding mission to present data, to actually start to take a real targeted look at this issue. I'm not here saying that I have the exact answer. The data suggests SROs and or armed security. So however that goes with the Salem Keizer School District, we will expect to do this presentation there. I don't know how well it's going to be received, but if you do look in the residential thing, where folks, you know, commented, actually in some of this, they said, well, what about Salem? So the 37 folks that responded from Salem said, what about us? Well, I don't live in Salem. My kids don't go to school in Salem. Yes, it's the Salem Keizer School District jurisdictionally, but, you know, IGAs and or intergovernmental agreements and other things like that can be put in place. But those are for people that get paid a lot more money for doing this than I do.
Councilor Reed.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I would just really encourage you as you proceed with this to find out what Christy Perry has done in terms of the fact-finding for her police resolution. Basically marry those two efforts, because they've done a lot of research on basically the same kind of thing. They've got a lot of input from, you know, across the district. And so either just being able to kind of tap into what they have already done and the feedback that they've gotten can help you strengthen this argument, I guess, to be able to, because to say that they haven't done anything and that they're ignoring the problem is not really fair, because they have done a lot in terms of gathering information, in terms of, you know, lockdown drills and all kinds of other things. There have been a great many measures that the school district has taken to strengthen security. So just to be able to find out what those are so that we can, again, all go forward fully informed, I think is important.
So I think that's, Madam Mayor, Councilor Reed, I think that's, I agree. I looked for the information, I couldn't find it. It's not just out there so I can digest that from the Salem Keizer School District website. I looked at a few different resources, even after the article about the negative response to the police thing, ended up not being very helpful in terms of trying to find the research data. I mean, typically these kinds of polls and these kinds of information pieces, you don't get a ton of responses. I mean, the people that are going to respond are super engaged one way or another, right? And that's really what it boils down to. I mean, there's state surveys that we do for work and we get like, I don't know, 15 responses and it's like, good enough, let's move forward. But if you have access to the information, Counselor Reed, I'd absolutely love to get a hold of it so I can.
And perhaps
better-
even make an appointment with the superintendent, or, just, I don't know.
Fair enough, thank you.
So what I'd like to do is wrap up. First of all, thank you, because engaging in these conversations is important, and the safety of our kids is something that we are all concerned about, and having our young people be on a path to success where they can concentrate in school and not worry about what's going on around them in terms of their safety. But it's a reality of our world. So I think that the adults in our community having that conversation in a mature and informed way is going to be extremely important. And I think that you have done a great job engaging people in a conversation that maybe some people didn't want to engage in. As a follow-up, I would join with everybody that we do encourage you to present this to the school board. I might encourage a conversation with our representative, which is Chuck Lee, specifically, so he knows about what the Keizer voices are saying. And I would also, I like the idea of a community conversation regarding this issue, bringing more voices to the table, especially youth voice. What do our high school students, yeah, I'm getting a smile from Ms. Bethel. What does our youth voice say? Can we engage some of the high school leadership in this conversation as well? I think they have a tremendous amount to say in this regard, and they may have some ideas as well. So their buy-in is going to be very important. And then follow up on there. But I think engaging the community in the conversation and see where that goes. I don't think any of us have the answer, but I know that collectively we do as a community. And Salem Keizer School District needs to know what the voice of Keizer is. Salem Keizer, yes, it's a joint school district, but the voice of Keizer is a unique voice, and I think it needs to be heard.
Well, thank you, Madam Mayor, and I'd invite any counselor that wants to, when I find out, I'll let y'all know when the school district meeting is that we're going to be attending, and I'd hope that you'd be willing to come. And the last thing I'll say is I couldn't have been more proud of Keizer in this response. Everybody on all sides of the issue were positive. We're not fighting in the comments, and it was really just such a fantastic thing to be part of. And having Dan out there on the streets asking people and telling them to go to the survey, and then of course again having Bill Post put it out there on the Keizer page. He's a great billboard for getting information out there. So, thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, that's everybody I have signed up for public testimony. Is there anybody else who wanted to address the council tonight before I move into our public hearing? Okay, let's go into then our public hearing for tonight, which is on the Keizer Development Code Text Amendment, Keizer Station Master Plan Review, and I'm going to open the public hearing. City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Brown?
So as you know, you guys have been doing this for a while now. We have master plans basically in every one of our 4 Keizer Station areas. As we've gone through that process, it's been some years, and over the years we have occasionally had to, as you have seen, come back to the council with amendments to the Keizer Station adopted master plans. Yet in our code we do not have a specific process that is identified. We don't spell it out, and we don't give any guidance as to decision criteria. And again, I'm speaking to an amendment to a master plan. So the proposed text before you basically clarifies the process and criteria for amending previously adopted master plans. It limits the amendment process only to changes that do not significantly alter the character of a previously approved master plan. And it designates that amendments will not go to the Planning Commission, but they will come directly to Council. As we have seen over several examples, we've decided that to delay the process by a month to schedule it to the Planning Commission when they are minor amendments really doesn't serve to expedite and facilitate those decisions. So the Planning Commission held a public hearing on February 14th and voted to support the proposed amendments unanimously. Direction was given to identify and modify as necessary additional provisions to basically align all the sections in the development code with this master plan process. So the intent here is to simplify the process and to give some predictability and some reliability to that process. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right. Councilor Anderson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thanks, Nate. Sorry, this is just curious here. In terms of a master plan, does this change pertain to just Keizer Station, or do we have other instances where a master plan might come up?
Well, we actually do have some areas in Keizer that would require a master plan.
Oh.
And we have some old master plans hanging out there. The McNary Activity Center plan we would consider as a master plan. So this would apply to all master plans, not specifically to the Keizer Station only.
Okay, great, thank you.
Any further questions? Okay, from the public, I don't have anybody signed up to testify on this issue. Is there anybody who would like to speak to it? Don't all rush at once. All right, then I will close public hearing. And Councilor Freeman, do you want to put a motion on the table?
I make a motion for direct staff to prepare an ordinance with the findings to adopt the proposed revisions. Do I need to list them all in the subject line?
No.
No?
Not at this time, no.
Okay.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council direct staff to draft a bill for an ordinance to adopt the proposed text amendments with the findings in the materials attached. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously with 2 absent. Okay, that takes us to administrative action. So here we go. 8A is the Keizer United disbursement request. And that will go to City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. During this last budget season, Keizer United submitted a request for $2,000 to be allocated to them, and the Budget Committee recommended that appropriation be included in the budget, and it was, the adopted budget, with the caveat that they produce a plan and submit that to the council of what they intend to do with the $2,000. That is before you this evening, so our recommendation is that you review the information provided to you and determine how much up to and including the $2,000 you wish to allocate to Keizer United per the request. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions on the staff report? Okay, Councilor Freeman, do you want to put a motion on the table on this?
Okay, so do I need I guess I need a motion too, don't I? All right.
Just put something on the table and we can debate it.
The appropriate motion would be to direct staff to disperse up to blank dollars. So.
Okay. Direct staff then to approve up to $2,000 with stipulations of what the $2,000 pays for?
Yes,
I
and I misspoke. As Chris had mentioned, it was up to, but you folks get to actually pick an amount, so the up to part doesn't work in the motion.
Okay.
There wasn't a specific request that it be, or discussion that I recall that it was for a particular purpose. I don't know if you know, Madam Mayor, or not.
I do recall from the Budget Committee, discussion was for Keizer United to come back with their updated bylaws and then their plans for how they were going to be using the funds and what their program was going to look like, because so much had changed with Keizer United from the previous year till now. So Meredith has done that. She's gotten us the updated bylaws, which have been adopted by Keizer United, and then brought us a proposed budget, which is very skeletal. It's pretty much, this is what we are using it for, and these are some of our partners and the monies that are coming in. So If we want more information on how the funds are used, reporting back, that could be part of the motion as well, if we so choose. Is that what you had in mind, Councilor Freeman?
Well, I have specific questions on some of these expenses.
Okay. So
So-
do you want to hold off on a motion at this point, and would it be all right to bring Ms. Mooney back down? Would you be willing to entertain some questions? Come on down.
So do I need to withdraw my motion?
It
Or I
didn't
didn't
get a
really.
second.
Okay.
It's not doing it.
Okay.
All right. Let's
So,
chat.
Yes.
Yes.
So Meredith, and the meeting expenses, you have $1,200 here for monthly meeting, and it says food, lunch food.
Yes.
So part of Keizer United provides lunch for people that come?
Yep. Yes, we do.
And isn't it at lunchtime so they could bring their own lunch?
They could, yes.
Okay, and can you tell me what, I guess I have several questions on this. So can you tell me the $200 for your supplies? What are those supplies?
So that includes the supplies for like plates and napkins and name tags, and I think that we were kind of just projecting costs because they've never really had a working budget. People just come to them and ask them for certain things. We listed things we have supported in the past. So supplies, right under that is new brochures and a banner. And I think we just wrote in supplies in case maybe we needed to help get a grant, pay somebody to help us get a grant. But we're trying to learn to do that on our own. Carrie Emery, she does that for us usually. But mostly that goes under peer court. So it is a very skeleton type budget.
And then your ongoing community support?
Yes, and so these are
Those are partners that are committed these funds? Or
These
these
are-
monies you want to pay out?
these are ones that we have in the past supported.
So you have, for instance, community gardens, you have supported them at $500.
Yes, in the past.
And peer court for $2,500, which the council already supports peer court in the budget, okay? And then under projected community funding requests, these are requests that you have received to fund? Like the bike rodeo, you have $300?
These are, Mayor Clark asked us to give deliverables. So these were just things that we projected. So we had heard that there might be a bike rodeo and we would like to participate in that. And if there was a request for that, we could allocate funds toward that. So this was really a lot of guesswork. And then also the ones that we have provided funding for in the past. So we were hoping to support schools again. We've supported Weddell Elementary. We're trying to get more schools involved.
And can you explain supporting schools?
So for Weddell, they have a reading program, and they needed partners to help them get supplies for that. We had some collaboration at the table that happened where one of the people went out and got supplies donated from Shemeketa, or wrong one, fire department. And then we also gave funding toward that too.
And then your $1,000 for supporting new partners, I'm going to assume goes with your grant application that was in the packet? Okay.
And so really, maybe we should have not done the guesswork and put that under the supporting new partners.
No, it's fine. I just, for me, as a city, to give you taxpayer dollars for lunch
Yeah.
is not okay with me.
Yeah.
One, because we don't do it for any other committee.
Okay.
And there's a lot of times we're here as council members,
Yeah.
we don't even get fed.
Yeah.
So
I can speak to that a little bit.
I have an issue with that, and I believe people can bring their own lunch.
Yes.
Because and then I have to look at, we already support peer court, and we're giving you, or this organization, money to support peer court. So I guess I'd want to know what additional things peer court needs. So I guess for me, this is kind of a really skeleton budget and not enough detail for me.
Okay.
And that's just me.
And so for the 2,500, it's just what Keizer United has always done. They've always given that to peer court. I can't speak to that because I've only been part of Keizer United for 2 years, and that was sort of news to me. That's like a huge amount of our budget, but it is allocated from the grants that Carrie brings in, and then it's written into that because she asks for administrative fees, and then we get some of that. I think that was on the email that was sent out.
So is this a pass-through? She's using Keizer United as the funding stream or the fiscal agent for the grants that she writes? Okay.
And so, can I speak to the lunch part?
Sure.
Okay. So I believe that providing a meal and coming around the table over a meal, it just fosters that atmosphere of collaboration. People have one less hurdle to get there. It's already hard to get people to take their lunch hour to come to this. And so, honestly, I was surprised that they were providing it when I first started going, but there were like 3 people going. Now that it's grown, I don't know what that will look like. We'll probably have to revisit that. People have even donated when they've come, just cash to it. That's only happened once, and it was like $5. But, because they also wonder, oh, you provide a lunch. But there are other collaborative things that I've been to in Salem. They provide lunch, people come, they eat, this happens, the Can Center meetings through SLF. And so I support that. It works.
Thank you.
All right, any further questions on the direction of Keizer United? I see the wheels turning. Counselor Anderson, you look like you're thinking.
No wheel there.
There's wheels turning, but
Might
not
be a wheel
sharing.
there.
All right, so what is the pleasure of the council? Do we want to put a motion on the table to discuss at this point, or would you like to ask for additional information? It's up to,
in their budget.
is what the budget committee
Can we go
allocated.
2,500 ones or not?
Not this year.
Yeah, that's right.
No, the,
Very good points.
yeah, we have not had a budget allocation for Keizer United that I remember.
Carrie said that we have been on the budget before, but I do not know where that information would be. I have not
We
seen
have
that.
for Pier Court specifically, but I don't remember for Keizer United. What if we did some now and some as things progress? How would the council, well, let me put a motion on the table and see where we go with it. So I would move that the Keizer City Council approve allocation of $1,000 of the budget amount for Keizer United with reporting back on how the expenditures were utilized.
I can second that. I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council, yes.
Well, Madam Mayor, just a suggestion, I'm not sure whether you want a specific date on reporting back on that, where you're going to wait a full year or
It'd be,
mid-year.
it'd be up to Keizer United to report back
If they wanted
the
additional
additional funds, in my opinion. So it's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council approve allocation of $1,000 of the funds budgeted for Keizer United with a requirement for reporting back on the use of the allocated funds. Discussion. Councilor Anderson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just kind of getting up to speed on a lot of what this group is involved with and so forth, and so I appreciate your stepping forward and serving on this with this organization for the last couple of years. I do share Councilor Freeman's concern about providing lunch because I, again, don't know of any other organization that the city supports that does provide that. I hear what you're saying about that. I'm belong to a lot of different nonprofits, serve on several boards that do meet over the lunch period, and either I have to pay for it myself or I bring lunch or I go without. My recommendation would be directing, maybe taking these funds and really allocating them more towards the programs that y'all are supporting.
Yeah.
I like the idea of putting together some information to convey to the community and so forth, the brochures and so forth about what the organization is about, what it's doing, maybe some publicity on that. So really kind of taking the dollars and then directing them so that they're going towards the programs that you're seeking to support. you've got some great ideas there. I like some more meat on the bones here,
Me
if you
too.
will. As you know, if our motion passes and this goes forward, it'd be great to get a regular report of some kind.
Okay.
In terms of how those, what your plan is for that.
And can I speak to two things to that? So my vision would be to get partners in the community, businesses, local businesses, to donate the lunch, but I've only just started that, and so hopefully that will happen. Secondly, the monies that we're asking for, can we say they will not be used from the city? Can we say they will not be used for that part of our budget?
Yes?
Okay.
So, actually, let's make that part of the, amend the motion to clarify that the funds will be used for programmatic and not for the lunch.
Second as amended.
Okay, so it's been, the amendment has been accepted by the second. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously with 2 absent.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, 8B, waiver of community center fees, Keizer Chamber of Commerce, City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And we actually have 2 different items here that are sort of separate. The first is the Keizer Chamber of Commerce is requesting a fee waiver for the annual Chamber for Citizens Banquet to utilize the community center here. And then also, in addition to that, they're wanting to be able to host their community conversation events here as well for no fee. Keizer First Citizens Banquet is a ticketed event open to the public in which attendees purchase a ticket for attending. The Keizer Community Conversation events are open to the public and are there at no cost. The rental rates for the Keizer Community Center include a 25% discount that Keizer's citizens are able to take advantage of. Keizer Chamber is also able to take advantage of that 25% discount already built into the rates that we quote them. Keizer Chamber of Commerce qualifies for that discount. The Iris Ballroom rental rate for the First Citizens Banquet would be a total of $2,125, plus refundable security cleaning deposit of $1,500, which is broken down as follows. Room rental, $1,500, includes the 25% discount, and staffing costs. Event staff included in the rental rate. However, if rental rate is waived, event staff would cost the city $400. And security would be $225 because the chamber serves alcohol at their event, and we require security for any event that serves alcohol. Options for the city council to consider would be: 1, grant the request for a complete rental fee waiver, room rental, security, cleaning deposit, event staff, and security. Deny the request for a complete rental fee waiver, waive the room rental fee and security cleaning deposit, but charge $625 for the staffing and security costs. These are the out-of-pocket expenses that the city would still be required to pay, regardless of whether you waive the fees. The second item is the community conversation. The rental rate for Iris Ballroom A for each of the community conversation events would be a total cost of $420, plus refundable security cleaning deposit of $750, which is broken down similarly. So room rental, security cleaning, event staff. Options for the council to consider for the Keizer Chamber of Commerce community conversations are similar to those discussed for Citizens Banquet. Grant the request, deny the request, waive just the room rental fee and security cleaning deposit, but charge $120 for staffing, or waive all fees for the community conversation events, but limit the number to 4 events. They're requesting 6 this year. Staff recommends City Council discuss each category of events separately and consider options presented and then direct staff accordingly. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions on the staff report? Councilor Anderson.
I don't know if this is the appropriate time to ask this question, Madam Mayor, but really appreciated the email that our staff, city recorder, provided to us today related to this, just kind of what we did last year. The one question I was wanting to ask is anyone recollect what we did with respect to the community conversations and these fees? Because I saw, I think the answer was with respect to the banquet, but I just honestly cannot remember what we done on the community conversation.
Yeah, I believe we allowed 4 community conversations at no fee. They're asking for 6 this year.
Staff costs.
Except for the staff cost of $120 each. Is that correct?
Okay, so paying out of pocket.
Excuse me. It may have been a little less on the staffing fees. The $120 is based on 6 hours of staff costs, and I based it on a 4-hour event with an hour prior to and an hour after for setup and cleanup. So if the conversations are less hours, it's $20 an hour for the staff.
So Danielle, you're saying
We've never received a bill, and that was not a part of the conversation last year.
that was not part of the community conversation?
Yeah. So last year, I actually came to the budget committee first for this, and we had these conversations, and there was a lot of deliberation there, and then we pushed it to city council. And we've never received a bill, and it wasn't a part of a conversation for the last 4 to pay for staff costs. This is news to me. And I literally haven't written a check for community conversations. My understanding with counselors and the Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors, the reason this came about is because there's things in the community that need to happen. They cost money to get people to a space, and the Chamber Board of Directors has said they'd be willing to pay staff time, myself and our other staff, to coordinate these events, advertise these events, and so forth, to get them someplace. And the only place suitable to house them, technically in our town, is here. And so they're looking for a partnership, so we don't need to pay costs for the space, but they're willing to pay costs for staff to make them happen, in collaboration with the mayor and other counselors that come to us and say, hey, this is a topic of discussion. And we do bring them forward as well, because we have one in September on waste management that seems to be a thing in the community right now.
Yes, it is. We're going to talk trash.
Yay!
So there you have it.
All right. Does that help, Councilor Anderson?
Yes,
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, let's take these one at a time. Councilor Freeman, do you want to put a motion on the table that we can debate?
So this motion is in reference to the Keizer Chamber of Commerce, the First Citizens Banquet. My motion is to select option 3, waive the room rental fee and the security cleaning deposit, but charge $625 for the staff and security costs. These are the out-of-pocket expenses for the city.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council waive the room rental fee for the Keizer Chamber First Citizen Banquet, but charge the $625 for the staffing and security costs, which are the out-of-pocket expenses for the city. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously with 2 absent. All right, let's go on to community conversations. Councilor Freeman.
Can I just ask a clarifying question? I know in the options it was 4, but the chamber wants 6.
That's
So in the recommendation, we just took 4 and not 6? I guess I'm trying to, did they ask for 6 and it came back that we just said you get 4 at these
No.
options? I'm just trying to understand
We
what
haven't
happened.
granted them anything. They've asked for 6. They got 4 last year.
Gotcha.
It's just,
Okay.
it's purely information for
Okay,
you.
Perfect. I just wanted to be clear that I was clear on what it was.
Are you
Okay.
clear?
I am clear.
We're clear. Okay.
Do you have a question for Danielle?
I just want to clarify, it's up to 6. We're hoping for up to 6 because we seem to have these topics that keep coming up. And we had an email barrier to get to this point. So it was out there for 6.
Well, since you're sitting here, is it your choice to have 6 in 2018? And is that doable for the chamber and the city to actually have 6 community conversations?
So ultimately, we had requested 4 last year, and we hit those 4 topics with the September conversation coming up. The challenge I'm having right now is that we have a request on the table to have a community conversation on homelessness in our community to really get the boots on the ground conversation going, which would be a 5th one in the time frame that we had 4 approved. So I don't know that we're going to have 6, but I see these things becoming more and more popular as the conversations are getting out there that we're having them. and people bring topics forward, and so I don't want to limit the opportunity of having 6 if I only have 4 rooms. So I know that's not really concrete, but at the end of the day, we'd like to try for 6, one every other month. But I also need to kind of understand what that timeline is based on the city, because we didn't really shoot for that last year because it was new.
Well, and I guess because we are in August, and if we have one for September of 2018, and in all honesty, the holidays will be upon us. And then, so really, if we're looking at this new request, is it feasible to think this would be in 2019? I guess setting expectations for the chamber and us, that we understand if we're granting 4, if we're granting 6, what is the time frame? I think that, so we're all clear.
Yes, the time frame would be really helpful. Before I felt like it was a budget cycle because we didn't really talk about
Right, so
annual
it'd be
years.
between now and July, yeah.
Yeah, and so that's why there was just this confusion. Yes, the holidays are coming, but this topic of homelessness is really seemed to be moving throughout the valley very quickly. And so I've had conversations about an early November community conversation on that. It just really depends on if my partners are available to get it happening. And without calling her out, I'm really talking to Kathy.
We'll talk.
So, yeah.
Okay.
I don't, and again, I want to respect the timeline, but September's here and our budget cycle passed, right? Didn't it end
No,
in June or something?
we're talking this fiscal year was starting July 1. So the September and November would be part of this cycle. So then we'd be talking between 2 and 4 in 2019 before the end of the fiscal year. So we operate on the July 1 to June 30 fiscal year.
Okay, then 4 is fine.
Gotcha.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Councilor Reed.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Danielle, wait.
Oh, wait, there's more.
I just want to clarify what you were saying earlier. So you're saying the chamber pays for your staffing costs, your people hours, and you are asking that the city pay for our staffing costs because it's a mutually beneficial sort of, we benefit from those conversations as well. Was that what you were saying earlier? So chamber pays for your staffing costs, you are asking that we pay for our staffing costs? The $120 or whatever thereabout? Okay.
Yeah, so the chamber covers the cost of time for 2 staff employees to do the whole workings. We also pay for the marketing and the paper and everything to really get it going out there. So yes, at the end of the day, I'm asking for an equal partnership in that, to not have to pay that $120, because frankly, when it comes down to it, the chamber's always looking for ways to really serve its members, and our members isn't the entire city of Keizer. It's the businesses who do business in Keizer.
Okay, but just to clarify that 120, that's only a small piece of this ask. You know, the room rental is the 450 and so forth, plus the cleaning deposit, and that's the big part of the ask, and then the staffing little piece is the little part, right? So we are already providing the room rate waivers and so forth, and we're saying, well, maybe we're not going to pay the staffing cost, but we're already contributing to this effort through the room waiver.
Yes, you are contributing it to the room waiver, but you're not counting on that money, I guess. It's not like written into the budget for you to expect it, so you're not already earning it. I'm asking for the city to waive that, which you're already not counting on, and covering the cost, which I didn't even know existed until now.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. All right, let's go and put a motion on the table so we can debate it, please. Thank you, Danielle.
You're welcome.
I make a motion that we waive all fees for the community conversation up to 4 events for the fiscal year July 1, 2018 through June 30, 2019.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council waive the fees for the community conversations put on by the Keizer Chamber of Commerce for the fiscal year 18-19. Discussion. All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously with 2 absent. We'll be talking. All right, thank you very much.
So can I just ask a question?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
So I know there's lots of conversation. I know you and Danielle are talking a lot about community conversations, but how do we get the rest of the people in to talk about the community conversation, whether that's city staff, that's the rest of the council, that's other community members. It's like, if we're trying to be open and transparent, I'm not saying anything's, we're not trying to be inclusive, but when we've heard several times, the mayor and I, the mayor and I, and the mayor and I, which is
You
all
wanna come?
great, but I just want to make sure we're open to a lot more people that we can bring to the table and have these conversations.
Absolutely. So I hear from our membership on a regular basis about things in the community that are concerning to them. I'm actually going to be meeting with Chief Teague on Wednesday to talk about a variety of things. I'm out and about. So I've met with the Union Gospel Mission. I did a tour of Samunka House last week, Salem Leadership Foundation. I'm having multiple meetings, and it turns out that Mayor Clark and I happen to be in the same setting a lot right now. And so as things are kind of firing off, we're having these collaborative conversations, knowing that we need to keep getting there. I'm more than happy to have anybody in the passenger seat with me as I'm floating through town trying to get their information so we can get that coming forward. But I'm not really seeking it out. It's just literally flowing in. So I know you and I had a conversation earlier. There's lots of people out there that are doing things, and I think if we say globally, we want to have this conversation, then they'll all show up and kind of share, what they're doing, and maybe we can pick things that make the most sense for Keizer to put them forward. Does that answer your question?
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Yes, Councilor Herrera.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I like what I think these community conversations are great. They really are. But I'd like to see, is it pretty much just the business community comes up?
No.
How do you reach out, like, say, another group of community members? How would you?
So a bulk of Keizer responds through social media and through the schools. So I'm communicating with all of our principals on a regular basis and asking them to put the community conversations in their example Thursday Thoughts. My kids go to Forest Ridge, and we have an electronic newsletter that comes out, and then it's available to people who don't have computers as print in the school. So I communicate them that way. We post it on all of the groups that are available surrounding Keizer through social media. We put it on events pages in social media. We have it on the Chamber Master calendar. We send it out in 2 electronic newsletters every week leading up to it that reach about 9,000 people in Keizer. Depending on what the topic is, we'll send board members walking River Road, and we had them do that for, what was that one? The River Road community conversation. They went into every business and talked to them and handed out flyers if they wanted them to post them. We're doing our very best to try to get out as every which way possible. It turns out that the publisher of the Keizer Times is now on our board of directors, so we can twist his arm a little harder to get information in the Keizer Times, and he doesn't seem to be saying no. So there's that.
Thank you.
Sure.
But if people have ideas for community conversations, we've heard some tonight about school safety, about safety in our community. Of course, that it could expand to what we do with our neighborhood watch and so forth. If people have ideas about, they think this would be a good topic for a community conversation, should they email that idea to you?
Yeah, they can email the chamber at info@keizerchamber.com, or I'd love them to connect with one of their city councilors to kind of vet that conversation and get that partnership going. We have an excellent city council liaison that comes to our board meetings every month and does a great job of saying what he's hearing from others, so we'd like to keep that moving.
I think that's a great idea. So also be in contact then with our liaison, who is Councilor Anderson. All right.
Okay.
Good conversation.
Should I leave again? I'm
Don't
not going
go
very
too far.
Yes, please leave.
Honesty. I love it. All right. Let's go on to item 8C, which is a resolution authorizing the city manager to sign the first amendment to the park management agreement with Keizer Little League, Inc. City manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. City Attorney Johnson.
Thank you, Chris, Madam Mayor, and Council. At the last meeting, Council directed us to come back with an amendment to the park management agreement between the city and Keizer Little League that would grant their request to change the contract to allow them to retain 50% of the net concession income and to retain the net tournament revenue. That's after paying the slot fees for the tournament games. So we prepared that amendment, and it has been signed by Keizer Little League, and is before you tonight for adoption. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions on the staff report? All right, Counselor, almost like Council President, Counselor Freeman.
Okay, I make a motion, Resolution R 2018, authorizing city manager to sign the First Amendment to Park Management Agreement with Keizer Little League, Inc.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council adopt Resolution R 2018, authorizing the city manager to sign First Amendment to Park Management Agreement with Keizer Little League, Inc. Further discussion? We still have quorum. All right. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously with 3 absent. Yeah, we still had a quorum. We're still 4 at the moment. All right, it is 9 o'clock, and what I'd like to do is take a 10-minute recess, so the rest of us can also take a little break, and we will be back at 9:10. We're back. All right, we are back in regular session. We are going to pick up on item 8D, an ordinance adopting the Keizer marijuana retailer permit process, repeal of ordinance numbers 2014-702, 2014-704, 2015-725, 2015-731, 2015-733, 2016-743, 2016-746, 2016-747, 2016-764, 2016-765, 2017-777, 2017-778, 2017-787, and 2017-788. You don't have to read all those again later. City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. City Attorney.
Thank you, Chris, Madam Mayor, and Council. The Council previously addressed the medical marijuana facility and recreational retailer issues in two separate ordinances, and at its June 4 meeting, the Council directed staff to combine the two ordinances into one permit process and also to remove the background check requirement as well as financial information requirement. And so what we did, or my assistant did really, was, which was a lot of work, because you can see from those amendments, so what she did was basically codify those and then use the retailer ordinance and then make the changes. So the red line version you see starts with the retailer ordinance and then combines, if you will, the medical plus the changes that I just announced there. So because of that, we also have resolutions for fees that are two separate resolutions. So we have an additional resolution that would repeal those and adopt a combined one. So we have both the ordinance and the resolution for your consideration tonight. Though there's no need for a public hearing, since it is an adoption of fees, the mayor should announce that and allow any public comment with regard to the fees. There was no discussion at council or at staff level about changing that fee. That fee is a total of $2,000. $500 of it is application refundable, I believe. It says in the resolution. The only other issue that staff discussed was whether or not, which was not really any discussion previously, the hours of operation are 10 a.m. to 7 p.m., which are currently what the state allows. You might remember that we allow that 10 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Well, I think we go later.
We go later.
It's 8, we go to 10 p.m.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, okay.
Did we get it wrong in the?
It's 7 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll believe you.
I remember that conversation.
Yeah.
Would you believe 11?
Yeah.
That would be on page 10 of the ordinance. On page 10 of the ordinance, it is item E, operating hours for retail sales to consumers must be no earlier than 7 a.m.
I
or
just
later than
reversed
10
those a
p.m.
little
on
bit.
the same day.
The question is whether or not you want to just match state law or leave that. The reason that I put that in there last time was to match state law, and we had a request from the operators to do that. My concern about deleting it and just relying on the state is I don't know what the state's going to do, and you'd be stuck with whatever the state did. Whereas if the state changes it and you feel it's appropriate to match the state, you can. You're not at the whim of what happens to the state. So that's the only other kind of side issue there. The rest, I think, is pretty self-explanatory. There weren't, I don't think, a lot of decision points. We just took your general direction as we indicated. And so it is before you. We have the clean version, of course, after that, too. So that's what should be adopted. And Madam Mayor, after the motion is made, you do not need to repeat that entire thing, but Councilor Freeman will
You'll
have to
read
as
it.
part of the
Okay.
motion.
Once more under the breach. All right. Councilor Freeman, have a whack at it.
Okay. I move for a bill for an ordinance adopting the Keizer marijuana retailer permit process, repeal of ordinance numbers, and I'm just going to read them down here, 2014-702, 2014-704, 2015-725, 2015-731, 2015-733, 2016-743, 2016-746, 2016-747, 2016-764, 2016-765, 2017-777, 2017-778, 2017-787, and 2017-788.
Second.
That was the easy line.
The resolution below?
We're going to do that separate.
Gotcha.
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council adopt a bill for an ordinance, number 2018, adopting the Keizer marijuana retailer permit process with repeal of said ordinances. And first of all, I want to say thank you to Tammy for all that work in simplifying that. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously, 2 absent. And then the resolution.
Can just read it off here.
Yeah, you can
So I
read
don't
it
have to
off
find.
here.
Adopt for Resolution 2018 relating to the marijuana retailer permit application fee repeal of ordinance R 2014-2497 and R 2016-2647.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that Keizer City Council adopt Resolution R 2018 relating to marijuana retailer permit application fee, repeal of R 2014-2497 and R 2016-2647. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passed unanimously with 2 absent. All right, hopefully that will simplify our marijuana processes for at least a little while. Let's go on then to item 8E, an ordinance amending Keizer Development Code regarding section 2.308 signs and section 3.103 conditional use permits, amending ordinance number 98-389. City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. City Attorney Johnson.
Thank you, Chris, Madam Mayor, and Council. At the July 16 meeting, Council directed us to come back with an ordinance after that public hearing to amend the development code with regard to the sign code, so that ordinance is attached. A couple of issues. One, in the staff report from Nate at the last meeting, there was a discussion about the senior center request, but going through all the other sign issues, that kind of got lost in the mix a little bit, and it wasn't discussed at council. To refresh your memory, very late in the game, and I think it was after the Planning Commission hearings, just coincidentally, the Senior Center on Cherry, it's on the corner of Cherry and Plymouth, I believe. Although it fronts on Cherry, that's RM, medium density residential ground. And the electronic signs are not by use. Some of the sign code language has to do with what type of use it's actually being used for. But electronic signs, for the most part, say they're only allowed in certain zones. So, we don't want to usually have electronic signs in a residential zone. So they asked for some provision there. I worked with Nate, and there's some language in 2.30809, which I don't have in front of me, but it essentially allows an exception for a semi-public use, I believe, Nate, that would solve the problem for the senior center to allow them to apply for a conditional use for electronic signs. So
That is on page, scrolling.
0.30809. I have other placekeepers here.
40. Okay, that is on page 18 to 19 of 2.308. In the packet is page 211, for those who are following along at home. Okay. So the change is where again?
Well, if you look towards the top of the B,
Okay.
B1 lists all those other zones, which I won't read, and then additional language said, or it's in light green on my copy, or the proposed sign is for a public or semi-public use regardless of the underlying zone. And there's the same change in sub B3 too. So that's the minor change that would allow if it's a public or semi-public use.
Okay. Is everybody clear on that? Okay. Mr. Brown?
And just to provide a little bit more information about the senior center, though, as he mentioned, they actually are on the corner of Cherry and Plymouth. But their sign, I just drove by it, and their sign is actually on the corner. So it doesn't affect any residential areas. Most of our other public and semi-public uses, in fact, I think all of our other ones are, except for churches, I suppose, are located in the P zone, the public zone. So it's a pretty concise and pretty limited change.
Okay.
And then, if there's no questions on that, Madam Mayor, with regard to the senior center, I did want to address the issue that the chamber brought up, basically kind of on two fronts, a substantive one and then on a process point. The problem is, and the main driving impetus behind that, besides Nate finally agreeing with me that we needed to take time to do this, which is another story for another day. But in any event, the main driver behind these changes was to truly get just virtually as content neutral as we can. And again, for the audience, you folks know what content neutral is, but the shorthand definition is you don't have to read the sign to tell if it's valid or not. So it doesn't matter what the sign says, you are regulating solely on the basis of size, location, vision clearance, that type of aesthetics to some degree.
Time, place,
And so one of the problems, there were two major problems. One was election signs, which I'd been trying for quite some time to get out the language that said pertaining to elections, clearly not content neutral. So we took that out, and just flat took that out, and there's a provision for the time period, but no restriction on what the sign says. The other issue was real estate signs. And the average garden variety residential sale is not a problem. That's a small sign, and usually, especially in this market, the sign's not up for a long time. The issue is more with commercial real estate, and not just sales, but leases. So if you think of some of the integrated business centers, the old, what I still call the Albertsons complex, the Waremark, Rite Aid, Keizer Village, Schoolhouse Square, even in a good economy, you're going to have a store that's dark. You're going to have a lease. And the realtors like that, have that sign presence. But here's Shannon and the courts, and by the way, the courts in Oregon are even more strict on this issue than the U.S. Supreme Court is. And so we had a provision in there, 2.30805, signs generally permitted, real estate signs. And you're pretty clearly saying, well, if it pertains to real estate, it gets a special provision. So the argument is, well, that's not content neutral. So the concept was to delete the specific exemption that basically gives a loophole to real estate signs, and instead have what's a special permit one that I lost my little placekeeper, which is a few pages later. It's page 17 of the red line version, and it is 2.308. I don't have the subsection there, but if you see, it says signs for temporary businesses / special occasions. Did you find that on page 17?
Yep.
E.
Yep.
Okay. E, thank you. Right in front of me. So that's basically temporary businesses. That is the first provision. And then the second provision are signs for special occasions. And you can see that first part was just a minor tweak. It's E2 that's all new language. And what E2 basically says is that if you have what we call kind of the grand opening idea, you know, grand opening, grand reopening, special occasion, that's 2A. You can have any number of signs, it's unlimited, size and quantity for just 14 days. So you can have, you know, big splash, big sale, 14 days, 2 in a year. The other provision, and the one that would allow realtors to have something to make up for the takeaway on the other side, was an oversized portable sign up to 16 square feet for a 120-day period in a calendar year. and then the permits could be renewed annually, after the 120 day, and they'd be unlimited as far as how they could be renewed. Because frankly, oftentimes, like I said, even in a good market, sometimes those realtor signs, they have something empty. Of course, there's marketing in other ways nowadays too, but the old-fashioned sign still is a good thing, and I understand real estate folks wanting to have those signage issues. So that's how we dealt with that. I'm not sure where the miscommunication came. This provision, as far as I remember, was always in the original drafts for quite a while. There wasn't a lot of discussion or controversy about it. It was a way of making up for the content neutral part about the real estate signs. So that's the substantive part that I wanted to mention. Process-wise, you folks had a public hearing on this. It closed the public hearing. Since it is legislative, the rules aren't quite as strict. So you've had testimony outside the public hearing under public testimony tonight from chamber folks. The provision that was recommended by the Planning Commission is 120 days. You might see there's a resolution attached, which I believe calls for a $55 fee every 120 days for both types of signs, the special occasion signs. That is based on, that's what the fee is for temporary use, so that's the reason that was chosen. You could choose to change that 120-day period. You could choose to change the permit, and if you wanted to make those kind of adjustments to it, I would suggest that probably you don't need to reopen the hearing. If you want to do anything more substantive, or if you want to revisit the content neutral issue and push me harder on what I think is a content neutral problem, and maybe get some other ways to resolve that, short of doing it the way the Planning Commission approved, then we could certainly do that, but I would recommend that you'd need to reopen the hearing if you wanted to go that direction. So again, just to make it clear, if you feel like you want to keep this general provision as a way to deal with this issue and play with the time, the 120-day, or with the fee, you can. I will, as I was speaking to the mayor during the break, the concern that I would have if you made the fee much less is there would be an incentive to use that provision for any kind of signs, because again, we can't control the content. So there's a little bit of a rub there that you would need to deal with. So your third option, of course, would be that if you feel like you want to just give it some more thought, but not to the degree you want to make any major changes, you could wait till next meeting and talk about it then too. So, you know, wait till next meeting, or if you wanted to do it with or without a hearing, you could. Again, if you're thinking of a more substantive change, then I would recommend a reopening hearing. So I'm sorry for the long discussion, but I felt that was all important information to relay to you, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you very much. Questions on the staff report? Councilor Anderson. And then
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Yep.
Very interesting, Shannon. Thanks for the explanation.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. So right now, for any real estate signs that we have out that are out there, wherever, whether they're commercial or residential, whatever, there's no permit that's presently required to post those. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
So what that means, and I'm sorry to carry on, but that means so someone at Schoolhouse Square can put up a 16 square foot portable sign that says real estate or for lease, but they couldn't put up a 16 square foot sign that said anniversary sale. And that means we're regulating the content, and that's why we're looking at this change.
So for commercial, yeah, like taking the example of, you know, if there's a commercial space that's available out there for lease or rental or what have you, the signs are out there. Obviously, you want to. I shouldn't say I want to, you want to, but the building owner, property owner wants to get that lease and so forth. I think there's a definite community interest in having the space leased or what have you. So they've got to advertise that. So, you know, I don't know how long one of those signs are generally out there, but presumably that's as long as it takes for somebody to get that property leased or rented, right?
Right.
Okay. And, I appreciate you, noting the permit fees and the other action that we've got on the docket here tonight, because that was going to be a question that I had is, I'm not sure how we set the fee that is in that, but that's we can save that for that length of time, or for that, when that action is up. I'm wondering if we've got these where we're designating some signs that are going to have to require a permit. Is there enforcement that goes with that to verify that,
Right.
okay, somebody's
And-
got, wherever
and
the
what-
space is,
Right.
they've got the sign up. Do we verify that they've got that somehow?
And Nate might be able to talk about more detail, but what we've discussed internally with staff, community development, is a process where they'd have a sticker and they'd have a log, and they'd say, okay, this is when this date was, and so they'd have it calendared saying, yeah, they got a permit. So if they went around and said, wait a minute, I don't remember that sign getting a permit, then it'd be a code enforcement issue. And, otherwise they would just wait, somebody, if they wanted to come back and renew it, they'd have to come in and renew that, and pay a renewal fee to allow that.
Well, as you had mentioned, they'd have to renew that permit fee every 4 months?
Right now, it's proposed at 120 days, yeah.
Okay, yeah, every 120 days. Why the 120 days? I mean, why not a year? Why not, hey, you pay for a year long or whatever, however long it takes?
So remember, we cannot regulate anything about content, and this special sign exemption is something that people have to come in and actually keep active and keep under permit. The reason for that is we cannot control if somebody wants to come in. If the business owner has a tenant and they want that sign, then they have the right to come in for a permit and pay for that sign. So it's a matter of setting priorities, and without that, you can just simply say, well, why don't we create signs? Let's just have signs everywhere. Let's just have any tenant that wants a sign. Let's have no limits on signs. I don't think that was anybody's intent. So the permit gives us the ability to have a vehicle to enforce and to limit it. You better want that sign if you're going to come in and obtain a permit for it, then it needs to be on a priority basis.
Well, hang on. I hope you don't mind me engaging in this, but if you want that sign, I would presume that a property owner who wants to lease that space wants to get that space rented or leased as soon as expeditiously as possible. And
But if
so-
somebody has already come in and used
But
their
we're not talking about
allocation-
a sign that they're going to throw up there for any other reason than just to lease or rent
Well,
that space.
that's
though,
what
right?
Nate is saying, and what I indicated a little bit earlier is that we can't control that content. And so someone could use this. It's intended to allow real estate signs, but we can't require it to say real estate. So somebody can say, grand reopening for a year, and this is a portable sign, which, some of them are quite attractive, but frankly, these are portable signs. They don't have the same requirements in terms of permanency and arguably aesthetics. So the question is, are you going to end up with, if the time period is too long and or the fee is too small, someone will be able to use this as a way to just get additional portable signs that stay up more or less forever. Now, we'd be glad to go back because we're not really interested in expanding the bureaucracy regardless of what the public might think. We don't want another permit process. It was a way to deal with the issue with regard to content neutral and still allow the real estate industry additional way to have a bigger portable sign, if you will. We could go back and look at a different way that didn't involve permits. And there might be additional brainstorming that could happen that would still keep it content neutral and allow a provision like that if the council doesn't want a permit process or is concerned about handling it that way. And we'd be glad to do
Well,
that
if
if that's what the council wishes us to do.
Just one final point. If it's a portable sign, though, these commercial real estate signs are considered to be portable.
Right.
There is a section dealing specifically with portable signs.
But they're only 6 square feet
These are
allowed.
These are oversized.
The oversized one. I'm sorry.
Actually, with the exception that wind feather flag signs may be up to 16 square feet in area.
The total area on a feather sign is usually like 1 by 16, though. So, I mean.
Yeah, but your language there says it can be up to 16 feet, though.
Only for feather signs.
Yeah.
The feathers.
True. So right now, somebody can put up a regular portable sign of 6 square feet, a solid sign, or they can put a wind feather flag up to 16 square feet. But though you know what a feather flag is. So
I do.
to do a rigid portable sign over 6 square feet, you'd have to go to that special provision, the new language.
Good? Okay. Counselor Freeman, you had a question?
Counselor Anderson clarified it in his comments. So, Counselor, my mic wasn't on, sorry. So Counselor Anderson clarified my question, so thank you.
Okay. Any other questions on the staff report?
I'm sorry. I will ask one more question just to make sure I'm clear. Is there a standard size on these commercial real estate signs? I think
they're typically 16 square feet.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
They're the type that you would see is about half a sheet of plywood, and they usually have a brace in the back like this, and, and on the back of it.
Yeah.
Okay. We're good?
I have a comment.
Is that going to be for deliberation or for just comment now? Okay. Counselor Herrera, you had a question? Okay.
I'll defer to my colleague here.
All right. And this is why anyway, I will keep my comments to myself. Counselor Freeman, do you want to put a motion on the table?
Sure, I think, okay. I moved the City Council a bill for an ordinance amending Keizer Development Code regarding Section 2.308 signs and Section 3.103 conditional use permits, amending Ordinance 98-389 and increasing the 120 days to 180 days.
In 2.308.08 E2B.
Yes.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council adopt a bill for an ordinance amending Keizer Development Code regarding Section 2.308 signs and Section 3.103 conditional use permits, amending ordinance number 98-389 with the change in 2.30808 E2B to changing from 120 to 180 days.
I'm sorry, 180.
80. In other words, twice a year. Discussion. Counselor Anderson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've heard some of the concerns. We've heard them laid out tonight and elsewhere. I'm concerned about establishing a separate brand-new fee for something like this. I'm not sure I understand the complete objective in doing that. Kind of my line of questioning was trying to get to a point, and that is that while I hear what staff is saying, and I appreciate that, I'm really puzzled. I'm trying to understand why a building owner or property owner would continually keep that sign out if it's allowed under this. If it is, I've heard, and I understand the whole point of the content neutral and so forth. But when it comes to the commercial real estate, if that's the standard size, it just seems like there should be some sort of a provision that we could provide for that. I think it's in the benefit of this community to have our vacant space occupied. I appreciate, getting that done as expeditiously as possible. I think we all can point to several properties along River Road that have been vacant for a while. And I think it behooves us to allow the property owner to do that. I'm not personally interested in charging a $55 fee every however many months it is for a property owner to have the privilege of being able to advertise that. And so that's kind of where I diverge on that issue. Realizing that's a separate issue, but connected to this through that. Just having the temporary business sign, I mean, you're still going to have to take out a permit to establish that, and that I'm concerned with. We've had that generally permitted before, and I would like to see us continue that somehow. If it's considered to be a portable sign, and I think we've got a provision in there under signs that are generally permitted under 2.308.05 sub new J under portable signs. And so I would rather see us address that issue there.
In what way?
Well, I would like to see that portable signs would be allowed up to the 16 square, to have this issue addressed there, and I think a simple change in that particular language could accomplish that.
So going back to...
And that's on, I think, page 10 of the
red line.
Yeah, of the red line. Thank you. I'm a little colorblind here, so I don't see certain colors that well.
That's
Red being one of them. So my preference would be that we would change that portable signs subsection there, where it says with the cross out, where it says portable signs are limited to 6 square feet in area, comma, with the exception that wind feather flag signs be up to 16 square feet in area. I'd like to just see that, would like to suggest that we have the signs limited up to 16 square feet in area with a period after the word area, and delete the rest of the sentence.
Okay, I have one comment in regards to that. Further on in the paragraph, it's talking about during the period before and after an election, the number of these portable signs is unlimited in number, because it's getting at the opportunity for people to have multiple signs during that time period. Whether or not they are related to elections, we're not saying that they can or can't. We're just saying that if you want to put 10 signs up for something in that time period around an election, staying content neutral, that this would allow for that, and these are the smaller ones. So the large 16 square foot is actually a separate issue. What we're talking about with the 6 square feet, you're talking about the little ones that are usually either the corrugated plastic, and those are for either advertising, a quick sale, or something like that. And around election season, then you see a lot of those pop up. So that's where that's being addressed. I get what you're coming from, but if we're going to address it here, then having unlimited of the 16 square footers, I think, would become a huge clutter issue on River Road and elsewhere.
So you're saying that language that's proposed there would allow, we could have 20 16-foot square foot signs, right?
Yes. So
that's a fair point.
What's trying to accommodate the number of signs that people want to put up, generally around election season, not saying that they're election content. And I'm making a little bit of fun here, but this is something actually that is very serious. When we're talking about content neutral, this is quicksand. And the Oregon Constitution is very clear on this, and being cautious about the language and making sure that we address this in a content neutral way is tricky business. So I appreciate the work that's gone into getting us to this point. It would only take has been very contentious in Oregon, particularly on content neutral. But I think that's part of what makes Oregon, Oregon is the content neutral and the rulings that have come down from the Supreme Court. So I'm not trying to poke fun, but that is what that is about. We're trying to find a way that's saying you don't have to put up election signs, but if you want 10 signs about something during this time period around elections, that would be, we allow for that.
To take that analogy a step further then, so technically you could have an unlimited number of 16 square foot feather signs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and those are pricey little puppies. Just saying. But we've seen, there have been times people have put up a whole bunch of them, and they do get a great deal of attention. So yes, we could have a great deal of the feather signs. If we want to move those to portable, the other ones, we could do that. But yes, you could have a whole line of feather signs.
Remember, excuse me, that the unlimited amount is only during the election period.
Correct. Then you have to take them down if they haven't blown away.
But still, they are per storefront, so you can have quite a few. The sign code was actually made less restrictive for the most part in these amendments. So it is not per integrated business centers per storefront.
Mm-hmm.
So even outside the election season. So.
Right, because there have been some concerns that because of the limited number that you could have in a complex, that if they had more tenants, not all of the tenants would get the kind of signage that they wanted. So this is going to expand that, saying if you have 10 storefronts versus 6 storefronts, you get 10 storefronts worth of signage versus 6 storefronts worth of signage. And then all y'all have to figure out if putting up all those signs is actually going to attract people or not. But we're going to leave that to the discretion of the property owner and the businesses to decide if that's effective or not. That's an issue that we've debated before, saying, well, if you have all that many signs, you can't see them. That's not our call. That's up to the businesses. Yes, sir.
Sorry, just to ask, trying to delve or understand this a little bit better. And I apologize for not asking this question earlier, but why allow an unlimited number of portable signs?
During the election period? That was a provision for a long time, except it said had to pertain to elections.
And we can't say that anymore.
No.
Based
It's a
on that
content
Supreme
issue.
Court.
And so, I mean, it's totally up to you folks. Sign codes like cat licensing, you just don't want to open up this can of worms, really. But anyway, the pressure for election signs was there many years ago.
Mm-hmm.
No, everybody, frankly, is like, we don't want to restrict people if they want to put up signs. And the argument, now that I'm sidetracked on this, sorry, was like, if you force me, how do I know don't put up vote for Jones for representative, vote for Smith for mayor? I can't put them both up because I only have one.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're restricting my free speech rights on elections, which is a huge deal. And so for many, many years, it's been unlimited during election periods. The change was to take out the reference to pertaining to election signs.
Okay. So what we're doing is time, place, and manner,
Mm-hmm.
and not content.
Mm-hmm. And frankly, I mean, someone can argue about the election time period, but, we're not directly regulating the content of those signs, just the time period.
Right. And that's something that, if I remember correctly, has withstood the discussion in court, is time, place, and manner.
Not in this state.
Well, not in this state. Of course not. I love Oregon. All right.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to make one more attempt here.
All right.
Is there a way to restrict, like, say you've got one of these 16-foot signs, whatever it's going to say, can you limit that to one per structure, but all sizes underneath that?
And that's the way
have the unlimited.
That's the way the
amount?
current language is. It is just one.
Yes.
Per, let me back to that. Signs for special occasions.
No, not under that. I'm talking under the portable sign.
Oh, under the
item
main
that
section?
Yeah, on page 10.
Well, it is limited to one, but it's one per storefront, not business, and of course, and then it's unlimited during the election period. So in the non-election period right now, it's one portable sign per storefront or residential structure that's allowed. But it's per storefront, not lot or integrated business.
I guess my question, though, is could you not limit one of the larger signs and then have the, the no restriction
you
on
could
anything underneath that?
Right. We could reword this, I think, if I may, Madam Mayor. I think Councilor Anderson's point a few moments ago was one of just wordsmithing. So, I mean, if your goal was just to simply allow portable signs for an unlimited period without any permit, you certainly could do that, if that's your goal. The concern that we would have, of course, is the aesthetic concern and the sign clutter concern. We thought about ways of doing this without a permit. We thought, how about 6 months out of a calendar year, 7 months out of a calendar year? Well, the reality is, as I said earlier, even in a good economy, you're going to see places that are going to, well, okay, we rented those 2 spaces, but there's still 1 more space left. And the real estate broker, in fairness to them, they want to keep the sign up, but there's still an empty space there. So oftentimes these signs will go for a year or 2. And then everything's rented up and the sign goes away. But it's not unusual for these to go for an extended period of time. So we wrestled with, well, because we didn't want to have a permit process and a fee involved, but we were trying to figure, well, how do you make it content neutral and allow a portable sign? So it's an aesthetic issue. If you folks want to revisit that, I would recommend reopening the hearing if you want if you want to go that direction. But certainly up to you.
Mr. Brown?
So in practice, real world is many real estate signs stay up beyond after their transaction is completed. We have dealt with this over the years. Real estate signs, once the deal is done, even in your neighborhoods, there are signs that are left up after the transaction. The other thing is, if you simply say, well, everybody gets 1 more sign, and it can be really big, 16 square feet, I'll guarantee you that sign will be consumed by the businesses that want more signage.
Except, of course, they wouldn't be able to put up a for lease sign. So.
Well, but then it would be gone, and so the allocation would be gone.
Yeah,
and
the allocation
and the realtors would not have access to an oversized sign. Now, this may not work. It may be that people are willing to pay that price anyway, and they will consume that allotment just by normal business operations. Our desire is to try and carve out some way to provide access for real estate signs through the limits of what we have, through the gag order that we have. And so, again, this was a process that was a year in the making, and we have hashed this through about 16 different ways. So I wish there were a better way, and I'm not guaranteeing that this is going to be the magic bullet. But this is the way that we have dealt with and negotiated and thought through very carefully to try and carve out. This needs to provide some access for a special occasion, for a special kinds of circumstance, and a real estate sign could use that to their advantage. So that's why it was structured that way. It's not, we're not making these signs, though I was tempted. We're not making these signs, well, let's charge $600 for you to put up an oversized sign. We have to have an enforcement. There has to be controls. We have to live in the real world that these things have to be enforced and tracked and monitored. So, I'm all for, if somebody has a better answer, I'm all for it. But just to simply say that everybody gets 1 more big sign on their lot is not the answer that we're seeking.
So I want to follow up on that because I was sitting here thinking, we are talking about businesses and then we're talking property owner. The property owner wants to lease the space. The business has no say in that. So the difference is the businesses under the portable sign, they can put out their signs, feathers, etc. But the property owner is going to be the one wanting to put out the real estate sign, letting folks know that the place is for lease. That's all part of the real estate transaction. So that makes this a little bit different. It's not more advertising for the businesses there. This is the property owner needing to advertise that they've got a lease or a for sale. That, to me, that is a significant difference, because when you put it that way, we're not talking about the businesses putting out more signs. It's the property being able to be advertised without taking away from what the businesses can do. They've got their allotment, but the property owner's got to have some means of advertising their vacancy, right?
Mhm.
A little bit different. Okay. You're puzzled.
I'm really sorry to belabor this. So what's the, how does that comport with the whole Supreme Court language or restriction in everything? I mean, I think the mayor's point is well taken, which didn't hit me really until she pointed it out. I mean, that's a, to me, that's a difference between.
So the property owner, and of course, we've been talking about what the sign code calls integrated business centers, because that's the more typical one, but it could occur at a standalone business too, that a standalone one building was vacant and it was going to be leased. The property owner can choose what that sign says. So if Creekside Center, the Albertsons Wearmart Center property owner wanted to put up a 16 square foot sign and pay for it, it could say whatever he wanted. It could say it's for lease, etc. Or it could say, you know, center-wide sale, whatever they wanted to put up. It would be their choice. If the council as a whole feels like you want to revisit this and allow just a portable signs generally, then, you know, we can handle it that way, and we can rewrite it to say that.
Can you limit the signage to an agent working for a property owner? So could you say 16 square foot signs are not allowed in the city of Keizer unless it's put up by a real estate agent working for a property owner? You're not talking about content. You're talking about the agent who's working for a property owner.
Oh, man, dancing on a pin.
It is dancing on a pin.
It is a little
I'm just
bit
curious as to whether or
odd.
not you could do that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that.
It might actually
as I
solve
said-
the problem.
As I said earlier, I don't want to try to draft this during the meeting.
Yeah.
But if the council wants us to review either ideas like Chris's or other ideas, and the idea of a permit and a fee is just something that you don't want to deal with, we'd be glad to look at it, because we tried to think of other ways to deal with it. I think we kicked around an idea that wasn't quite like yours, Chris, but it kind of rings a bell. And I'd be glad to look. It seemed like we looked at other jurisdictions and some of them just flat out are not content neutral. But I can't remember how other jurisdictions dealt with that.
We would love to explore that option.
Okay. Give us another couple weeks to play around with this, if you would.
It's up to council.
Can we limit it to just this discussion? Just please.
No guarantees, unfortunately, because if we delay this, then everything's still.
Well, at some
Fair.
point, it's going to be a risk analysis. At
Well,
some
I
point,
agree. Do we want to put this off 2 more weeks to look at that language?
Sure.
Is
I
that
mean, that's
something-
okay with me.
All right. So the concept that the large portable signs would be something that would be an allocation to the property owner to determine,
real estate transactions.
well, to include. I mean, again, if they want to put up area-wide sale or vote for Joe, they can do that too as content.
We will try to look at a wide range of options.
Okay. So we had a motion on the table, did we not?
Yeah, that needs to be withdrawn
Okay,
if
do we
they
want to
wish to.
Shall we withdraw the motion?
So
Mover
withdrawn.
and second.
The second withdraw? Okay.
And then you would want to skip that resolution too then, Madam
I
Mayor.
believe we can do that at this point. Okay, well, we had to kind of get to that space. But I'm still going to talk about the 180 next time. All right. Breath? No. But we will go on to 8F, which is an ordinance amending the Keizer Development Code regarding section 1.200 definitions, section 1.212, blah, 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 2.123 Greenway Management Overlay Zone, GMO, which is not to be confused with the other GMO.
Madam Mayor.
Yes, sir?
I'm sorry. You do not at this stage have to read that entire
Let's go with 8F.
Yeah.
City manager?
Unfortunately, Councilor Freeman will.
At least it'll
if
be
she
once.
makes the motion.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. City Attorney.
Thank you, Chris and council. Real brief staff report. At the July 2nd meeting, you directed us to come back with an ordinance regarding historical resources. It ended up making changes to several sections. My apologies. Again, for those of you that don't know, we use the title of the ordinance to do searches. And what that means is the titles get very long in certain occasions. I was very pleased to see how short the sign one was, but unfortunately this one's not. But that's the reason for the long title. Several different areas were changed because they reference historical resources. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Any questions on the staff report? Councilor Freeman, have at it.
Okay, I move the city council adopt a bill for an ordinance amending Keizer Development Code regarding section 1.200 definitions, section 2.123 Greenway Management Overlay Zone, GMO, section 2.127 Historic Resources, section 2.408 Bed and Breakfast Establishment, section 2.431 Nursing and Personal Care Facilities, section 2.432 Cottage Cluster Development, section 3.101 Summary of Application Types, section 3.112 Annexations, section 3.202 General Procedures, types 1, 2, 3 Actions, amending ordinance number 98-389 and amending ordinance number 87-077, the Keizer Comprehensive Plan, amending ordinance number 87-077.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to the Keizer City Council adopt a bill for an ordinance 2018, amending the Keizer Development Code regarding numerous sections that have been listed. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously with 2 absent. And then we're going to skip G, correct? That will come back next time with the sign code. All right. Consent calendar. Councilor Freeman.
Okay, we have 4 items on the consent calendar tonight. A resolution authorizing the city manager and public works director to sign the 2018-2021 collective bargaining agreement with Laborers International Union of North America, Oregon Southern Idaho District Council Local 737. Resolution B is approving the city engineer's report declaring the city's intent to form Summer View Estate Street Lighting Local Improvement District, providing notice and setting hearing. Resolution C is authorizing Public Works Director to sign Mark Nelson Oil Products, Inc. purchasing documents for Cardlock fuel cards. And item D, approval of the July 2nd, 2018 City Council regular session minutes.
Thank you very much. Are there any polls? Seeing none. Councilor Freeman.
Make a motion to approve the consent calendar items A through D.
Second.
The consent calendar has been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously with 2 absent. All right. The cut to the chase, each one of you. And we'll start off with How about our birthday girl?
Well, thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I always loved those birthdays, right? All right, I went to a meeting about the Willamette locks, which was an interesting forum that I had never been aware of. And basically what the issue is the Willamette locks are, they divide the lower Willamette River and the upper Willamette River. It's about at West Lynn. And the Army Corps of Engineers decided to close that in 2011, and this council, this commission has been appointed to figure out how to keep this open if we can indeed keep this open. And it's generally agreed upon that we'd like to keep it open. The question is who's going to manage that and all of those things. So anyway, it's a very interesting discussion. There are, if you can certainly contact me if you want more information. Also, our representatives Bill Post and Sam Brentano are on that commission, so they are better informed than I am, and you can also ask them for more information. But it is an interesting discussion. I also attended the community dinner on the last Wednesday of July, and that was a wonderful event, and was very well attended, and so that was a lot of fun. I met with the Salem Leadership Foundation people, and that was an organization that I was not really familiar with. And Roland also alluded to the two ladies that have been to the Keizer United, and they've been very active in the Salem community, and they're looking to do more with the Keizer community. And so they had asked me to announce that on September 16th at the Capitol Mall, they are going to have a fundraiser that is a run, walk, hike, dance event from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock, all ages. There is a Facebook page regarding this. It's called a Bridge Builder event, and there's a free meal, a free meal raffle, octoball, which I don't know what that is, but apparently cool people do. And a t-shirt, and if you want to register, then you can do so on www.salemlf.org. There is a $10 suggested donation for the registration, and anyway, that sounded like a wonderful event and something to get more information about that particular organization. I also went to the Southeast Keizer Neighborhood Association, and largely we planned that for the neighborhood night out, or National Neighborhood Night Out, which I'm sure we'll hear more of from other people, but that is an exciting possibility starting tomorrow. There was a Bear Park cleanup, and I was not able to go to that because I was not in town, but it's great to see neighborhoods cleaning up neighborhoods, and that's a park in the neighborhood near where I live, and so again, I love how Keizer does this. You know, we take care of our own areas, and we all contribute to the well-being of the community. So thank you to all of those who were involved in that, and thank you for all of those who organized that. And that's all I have.
Fantastic, and congratulations to your family, who are most of whom were involved in the Shakespeare in the Park.
Yes, that indeed too. Thank you.
Great production. Keizer Homegrown Theater just ended their run of The Tempest, and 3 of the actors were Reeds, and then everybody was all hands on deck for set up, tear down, and so forth. So anyway, it was great. It was played at Keizer Rapids Park and at Almsville, a park there that needs a bigger sign.
Yes, we will address that.
Thank you. I drove past it twice. But anyway, Councilor Freeman.
Let's see, lots happening in this week and the next week, but most importantly, we have some openings on our committees still. So we have the Public Art Commission. There is 1 vacancy. And they meet the 3rd Tuesday of every other month. We have 2 vacancies to the Budget Committee. This is a great committee to start on because we meet in the month of May, and we usually have a meeting in early January. But other than that, when the budget's done, you're done. So it's a great committee to get your feet wet, to volunteer here within the city. The Planning Commission has 2 vacancies, and they meet on the 2nd Wednesday of the month at 6 p.m. And we're always looking for some youth to serve as our committee liaisons. But most importantly, your application needs to be completed this Wednesday, August 8th. due to the close of business here, send it to Debbie Lockhart, and all the information is located on our website at www.keizer.org. National Night Out is tomorrow night, and I will let Chief Teague talk about that later. This week we have Stormwater meeting on Thursday and the Personal Policy Committee meeting following. Traffic, Safety, Bikeways, Pedestrian is Thursday at 6, and I know Councilor President Parsons is looking for someone to fill in for her if at all possible. Our next volunteer coordinating committee is the 16th. And planning, which would normally be Wednesday night, is moved to August 27th. That's all I have.
Fantastic. So if anybody can cover traffic safety on Thursday evening, I'm going to be in the same meeting with Council President Parsons and Councilor Freeman, so, and you're out of town, so,
See if I'm walking.
all right.
If I'm walking, I'll be there.
Okay, if you're
It's Thursday,
mobile.
what time?
6 o'clock.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
all right, let's try that.
All right, so let's go to you, Councilor Herrera.
Yeah, Thursday I'm gonna be at the traffic safety and,
Yes, yes, you are.
I just wanna say, you know, I was looking out here at the police out there and I recognized Chad Fahey. And then Andrew over there, and it's so cool to see kids you saw when, Bill, you remember them? Little guys playing Little League and now they're cops. That's so awesome, you know? I thought I'd throw that in, but anyway, my last couple of weeks have been pretty uneventful because of my situation and recovery and I'm off and on with my walking. But anyway, we went to Wally's service on Friday, which was very nice and it was great to see some of Wally was in so many worlds, you know. The girls softball team was there on the table that he coached many years ago. He coached Babe Ruth. I mean, he officiated for everybody, me too, and then that's not even his work with the city, but he left a legacy. And I always say he's the original Mr. Keizer. Anyway, so also next week I will be continuing my work with the Little League Softball World Series, which is we host in Portland, Alpen Rose. My wife and I have volunteered there for many years, and it's a lot of fun. And I want to say to my mentors, Pancho and the Taveras, Yolanda Tavera, they've been doing it for over 35 years, doing this stuff.
Wow.
Can you believe that? And so I just, you know, they're amazing people. But anyway, they're the ones that hit that and schedule us. So also, I had a mano-mano board meeting this afternoon, and it was very enlightening. We're working on some projects that are going to be kind of exciting in the future, and we're going to encompass Keizer in some of those. Night out, National Night Out tomorrow. Like I didn't sign up because I wasn't sure what my condition would be, and is it last minute to show up, or, you know, I'm gonna call Andrew. Should I call Andrew?
Call Andrew.
I'll call Andrew. Anyway, and then of course, last thing I was gonna say was, you know, Art Park that I live across the street from. It's amazing watching them. Lately, we've had little action going there, but the response from the city with Robert and some of the kids out there working is really amazing. The kids come to my house, they always think, "Are you the guy that owns the park?" You know, yeah. But you know, I get all the feedback, and I feel tired of calling Robert. I don't want to do it all the time, but it's stuff that communities do, and you know, they always kind of look after each other. And we're Officer Reed. Where you in? She said something that's really true. We take care of our Keizer, we really do take care of our own. I mean, I saw people out there working, and I wasn't mobile, but I mean, I've seen a lot of people do little this and that projects, and I think it's really great. It's the Keizer way. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Anderson.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. First, I really want to just express my appreciation for staff going through all of this. So thank you for your detailed conversation and your work, especially. You know, development code is never easy, so I really appreciate it, especially navigating some of these constitutional issues. So I really do appreciate that so much. Just a couple upcoming things that I'll point out. One, August 18th is McNary Blue Day. Councilor Herrera. But also seeing Lieutenant Copeland in the audience here tonight. Just a reminder, we've got a great community that comes around and volunteers to help out with our football program, so I really appreciate that so much. And also, it's a great, I cannot remember the time on Blue Day, what the hours are, But I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that it's starting off with a breakfast this time. So it's a great way to see all aspects of McNary's program, from the little kids all the way up to the big kids and seniors at McNary. And then also, just a side note, there is a cool board that just got installed at Flesher Field. So some of us are really excited to see that in operation this football season. So I'm really, and hats off to Danielle and the other awesome athletic boosters that were out there in our community, bringing it all together. And I got to put in a plug for Skyline Ford, because they're the ones that really pushed everything over the edge to make that happen. And I just think that is exceptionally awesome that happened. The other thing that I'll just highlight is just later this month, Keizer Chambers lunch is going to be on August 30th, if I'm not mistaken. And why I mention that here is because that is the lunch where the Chamber will recognize and honor our educators from here in Keizer. So I think that's always a cool thing, and looking forward to that. Thank you.
Yes, indeed. And folks who are shopping for back to school, think about things you can pick up to add to the donations coming to the schools. It makes a huge difference for a lot of our families. I'm just a couple things. The hour is late. I want to thank Council President Parsons for covering for me on July 16th. I had the honor of being in Washington, D.C. for doing training for my day job with the Civil Rights Division of the Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA. Great stuff. Learned from some people who are doing fabulous work across this country on civil rights. I would like to congratulate Clint Holland and the Keizer Rotary Amphitheater Group for continuing success with the concert series. Next up is the Severin Sisters this weekend, Saturday night. And then the weekend after that is Johnny Limbo and the Lugnuts, so be there. I also want to thank the Oregon Mayors Association. The hosts this year were the city of Florence, and we had a fabulous conference for over 70 mayors that came from across the state. Literally, Lakeview was there. I think they traveled the farthest, and they also had a very cool basket in the auction. So we did topics such as housing, recycling, infrastructure, water and sewer. I mean, this group of people, I guess, excited about this sort of stuff. Growth, oil trains, and more. So it was really good networking and good training for us volunteer mayors from across the state. On Friday, I was in Eugene for OMPOC, which is the Oregon Municipal Organization Consortium, Municipal Planning Organization Consortium. I represent the Salem Keizer MPO, and a big one coming up, and we're going to have some of these conversations, folks. If you thought sign code was tough, here comes the transportation planning rule. There is some significant language changes that are being proposed that are going to impact Keizer. It's going to impact all the cities and counties, because they finally figured out, which I knew eventually they would, that they have no jurisdiction over the MPOs. That's right, they don't. They have a jurisdiction over the cities and counties on how we do our planning. And the language in there is, they're saying it offers you more flexibility. You do all this other stuff. On some fronts that is true, but on others it is not. So we're going to have a conversation about that. I've been trying to represent the position of Keizer on this. We want as much flexibility regarding our urban growth boundary and our transportation and land use as possible. But this language could have some significant impact. So I'm going to forward that to you. And if you've got thoughts, input, or, oh my gosh, what are we going to do, get a hold of me. So that's going to be something that you may want, if you have not had those conversations with the Chamber, Government Affairs, is probably something you're going to want to look at as well. It's got a significant impact for land use. So that's been part of the fun I've been doing. Coming up Thursday morning, we have Commissioner's Breakfast, and we need one more because Councilor Parsons will not be there. So if somebody's available at 7:30, come down to Sherry's. I will be there. Who's the other person? And Councilor Reed. So any of the three of you want to come down? Eeny, meeny, miny, schmo. Nope. Okay, that leaves it to you. All right. It's got breakfast, but we have to buy our own. That wouldn't be so funny except for the fact I have to deal with this in my day job too. Lunch is a thing. Okay, Coffee with Kathy is this Saturday at 1 p.m. I think on some of the schedules it showed on the 18th, but I didn't want conflict with Blue Day, so I have that on my calendar from 10 to 2. So if there's a breakfast, yahoo. We probably have to pay for that too. Anyway, Keizer Heritage Foundation Board meets on Tuesday night, and that's all I've got there for events. That's the 14th. Yeah, next Tuesday, a week from tomorrow. Okay. I've got 2 events I'm going to forward to you guys for, I've been invited to, I can't make because of this day job thing. One is National Health Center Week, Community Resources and Activities Fair. It's on the 14th from 11 to 2. Again, I'm at work. But it's the Northwest Human Services, and then another invitation to the Kroc Center for their, put your glasses back on, Clark. There you go. The All About Kids Health Fair and Back to School event happening on the 18th during Blue Day from about 10 to 2 as well. That's what I've got on council liaison reports. So that takes us to other business. This time is provided to allow the mayor, city council members, or staff an opportunity to bring new or old matters before the council that are not on tonight's agenda. City manager, take it away.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Tracy. Michelle. Chief Teague.
National Night Out tomorrow night. See you there.
Mr. Lawyer. Mr. Brown.
Yes, so just so you all know, to prepare you, because this is going to take some effort on your part, I received the draft of our gap analysis from our consultants, our OTAC consultants, on the revitalization project. It's a 60-page report, and basically that goes through and identifies the market pressures and the market suitability for development of three different scenarios. So just wanted to lodge it in your brain that it's not light reading, but it is important reading. We expect that to be at your next work session, which is, as you know, on the thank you, the 27th. So you'll be getting it in the near future.
Very near, I hope. That's going to take a while to get through. Thank you.
Mr. Johnson.
Thank you. Back to signs. So I would suggest, given the council's direction, that we go ahead and reopen the hearing if there's consensus by council, so that we can be certain if you're making a rather substantive change, you're looking at making that. So with your consent, we'll go ahead and schedule it as a reopened public hearing. Any objection there?
No objection? No.
That's all I have.
All right.
Thank you. Oh, next week I will be here on Monday and then out Tuesday through Friday on vacation. And that's it. So,
all right.
And somebody is likely to be roped into being the acting city manager. So maybe somebody sitting here. It's hard to tell.
Don't make eye contact.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. So, rock, paper, scissors, lizard, Spock. Normally, I would bring this up later, but this was something that was discussed earlier very briefly with Keizer Little League. And this has been discussed in the paper and in other venues. It has been very clear that the Keizer Little League Park is a gem in our park system. It has relied on the incredible sacrifice and blood, sweat, and tears of many volunteers from its very inception. Because we have such great volunteers and their work has produced something that is so valuable to our community, I believe it is important for us to value that and to do some long-range planning on how that field, how that complex is going to be managed going forward. We need to make sure that the work that our volunteers are doing is honored, that we set them up for success, and that we can make sure that that park is there in great condition for people to play baseball, softball, or whatever, pickle, octo, whatever ball that they want to play with in the future. Maybe it's even got a little drone ball for all I know. But with that, I have discussed with a few people in the community about the idea. Every time we've had a meeting with Little League or others about the park, long-range planning has been in the discussion, and I believe it is an appropriate time to establish a long-range planning task force to engage our community about how we can be successful going forward and honor the work and the heritage that has gone into the Keizer Little League Park. Therefore, I have prepared just something brief to read. I know it's very late, and I apologize for this. But the history is that great volunteers have established, expanded, maintained, and continue to upgrade this complex. It's taken tremendous work to accomplish, and their sacrifice is deeply appreciated. The challenge is that the park belongs to the city of Keizer, and we have to maintain the quality of the facility for all people in our community. And we want our kids to have access to play ball. We also want to make sure we value the work of our volunteers and set them up for success. The task, therefore, is to bring together leaders from sports, parks, the community, and the city to delve into options to keeping Keizer Little League Park safe, well-maintained, enjoyable for kids to years to come, and how the city and the baseball, softball organizations can create a plan in the Keizer way to help each do their part to maintain and plan for the future capacity of Keizer Little League Park. With that, then, I would like to move forward with appointing a task force that would take on this challenge. And I'm looking at the city attorney if I can send this recommendation out for comment, or if I can go ahead and just read this into the record and then have staff come back with a recommendation.
Either way, the task force has to be adopted by the council.
Correct.
And so we would typically put this on as an agenda item and adopt a resolution. So if that's the direction you want to do, we can try to get that going by next meeting.
So I'd like to just read this for everybody's consideration, and then I will forward this memo to the city council, or to the staff and council for your consideration, and I would ask that we take this up at the next meeting so we can keep this conversation going forward in a very productive way. My recommendation would be from the city would be myself and Council President Parsons. From Parks, Mr. Matt Lawyer. From Keizer Little League, the president +1 to be appointed by their board. McNary Youth Baseball would be their president +1 to be appointed by their board. From the community, Mr. Dan Kohler. And from the chamber, they've asked James Holvey. Hutches. I knew I had the name wrong. It would be the intent during the process to have panels meet that would help give history, experts like Roland Herrera, Clint Holland, Rick Keene, Jim Taylor, and others who have been key in the establishment and operation of the park. Another panel that would help with understanding the business end with sponsors, in-kind donors, and baseball professionals such as the Volcanoes and others. A panel of participants, representative of the youth who play, who have played. And then also a panel that would involve the community. You know, what is the community interest in this park long term? It would also be the objective for the community-based long-term plan for ensuring the safe, quality, and affordable maintenance and operation of the Keizer Little League Park, honoring the work that's been done in the past, and ensuring that it's going to be there for kids to play ball in the future. Any comments or discussion? Okay, I will send this for a discussion at our next council meeting. Thank you all for obliging me this additional time. Written communications, I have one I want to read into the record, and you'll see why. This is dated July 11th, and I've been gone, so I apologize for the delay. Mayor Clark, on behalf of the City of Salem, thank you for the City of Keizer's assistance during the drinking water advisories. Keizer provided Salem with all the water, except bottled water, that we distributed to the community. Your quick and unrestricted response was critical to meeting our residents' and water customers' needs. The water advisories demonstrated the importance of our city's cooperation. I look forward to continuing our partnership. Sincerely, Chuck Bennett, Mayor, City of Salem. Very nice, and we are pleased to serve. And Chambers here, and you and so many members of our business community were critical in that as well. So that goes to our business community as well. All right, The written communications that I have can wait for next time. Agenda input. Our work session has been moved to the 27th. We will meet to the 20th at 7 p.m. in regular session, and then September 4th, which is a Tuesday, we will meet at 7 p.m. in regular session. Anything else for the good of the order? It is 10:30. Oh. Okay, would you hold that up, please? I've been threatening to do this for a long time, to wrap Councilor Herrera in bubble wrap. There it is. No more boo-boos. And with that, it is 10:30, and we are adjourned.